Chapter 479. It was very rare for two souls to coexist. After reaching adulthood, one of the two souls would wither away and inject its own soul force into the other soul to help it grow. Luoyang was like this. The female soul had withered away, as if it had turned into nourishment and was injected into the male soul. However, a portion of his soul had fused with the male soul, causing his body to become like this. Changing the soul was actually quite simple for Jiang Chun, but he needed some heavenly treasures to refine a few pills. But now, where could he find those heavenly treasures? And he didn't have the time to refine them. If you are willing to help me, I will help you in the future. Luoyang did not say much, but there was not a trace of falsehood in his eyes. Regarding this, Jiang Chun waved his hand and said, "It's a small matter, but first, we have to find the resurrection grass and the spirit-expelling flower, these two heavenly treasures. Otherwise, I really can't help you with this. There are many heavenly treasures in the blood path. I will go look for them when the time comes." Luoyang said, "That's fine too," Jiang Chun said softly. However, suddenly, Jiang Chun saw a slight change in Luoyang's expression, especially his pupils. There was actually a wisp of purple light. "From now on, stay away from this body." At this moment, Luoyang stared at him. His voice was cold, but there was a hint of a woman. Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. A second ago, it was still a man's voice. Why did it change in the next second? "You are Luoyang?" Jiang Chun asked. "Luo Shui," Luoyang said in a deep voice, his face cold and arrogant. Jiang Chun was confused. It was clearly Luoyang, so why did he call himself Luo Shui? "My soul hasn't disappeared, and neither has his soul. It's Luoyang during the day and Luo Shui at night," Luo Shui said. With that said, Jiang Chun couldn't help but look up at the sky, just in time to see the first moon rise. It's not a dual soul coexistence, is it?" Jiang Chun frowned. "Who told you it's a dual soul coexistence?" Luo Shui raised his eyebrows and said, "It was Luoyang who told you, right? Then he's a fool." Jiang Chun was speechless. He thought to himself, "You are the same person. Is there a need to say that?" Two-faced soul. Soon after, Jiang Chun revealed the relationship between Luoyang and Luo Shui. They did not have two souls. To be more precise, there was only one soul in this body. However, this soul was split into two sides. One side was the Luoyang that appeared during the day, and the other side was the Luo Shui that appeared during the night. Jiang Chun could solve the problem of having two souls coexisting, but Jiang Chun couldn't solve the problem of having two souls, because this was not **king disease. Then how am I going to explain it to Luoyang during the day? Jiang Chun said with a bitter smile. He still thinks that the two of you have two souls. Can't you just fool them? Luo Shui said softly. Once you enter the heaven tier, the two souls will become one. At that time, it will be me during the day and at night. Are you the main body of this soul? Jiang Chun asked. What else could it be? Luo Shui glared and said, if Luo Yang was the main body, do you think this fleshly body would still be able to grow to such a state? That's true, Jiang Chun muttered. After saying that, Jiang Chun looked at Luo Shui indifferently and said, what do you plan to do now? Of course, go to the heavenly palace. Luo Shui said, in the third small world, the best cultivation resources, the best heavenly treasures, and even the cultivation techniques and martial skills are all in the heavenly palace. But, can you do it? Jiang Chun curled his lips and said, one had to know that in order to enter the heavenly palace, one had to go through 18 twists and turns and go through 9 tribulations. In Luo Shui's strength, no matter how Jiang Chun looked at it, did not feel that it was strong. However, in the next moment, when Luo Shui's aura erupted, Jiang Chun's face instantly turned pale, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his back. Upper level of the God tier. Jiang Chun almost screamed. The time that the bloody path had been opened was not short, but not long either. Now, according to Jiang Chun's knowledge, the strongest was only in the middle level of the God tier. But now Luo Shui, upper level of the God tier? This was probably the first person to step into the upper level of the god tier in the bloody path. Since you have the strength of the upper level of the god tier, why are you looking for me? Jiang Chen said gloomily. It's not that I'm looking for you. It's Luo Yang who's looking for you. Luo Shui glanced sideways, and a trace of contempt flashed in her eyes as she said, You're so weak. How can I look for you? Hey, I say, can you not look down on me so openly? I'm the reincarnation of divine King Tianshun. At the very least, give me some face. Jiang Chun said with a black face. So what if I don't give you face? Fight? Luo Shui raised her eyebrows and said. She stretched out her slender hand and hooked her finger at Jiang Chun, saying, Come? Little sister, I was wrong. Jiang Chen's speed of admitting defeat had always been very fast, especially when facing a beauty with no enmity. If Jiang Chen's speed of admitting defeat was second, no one would dare to say they were first. 3 days later, let's begin, Luo Shui said, and then closed her eyes and began to cultivate. Jiang Chun did not say much. He looked around and frowned. He could not help but sit cross-legged beside Luo Shui. Oh! Luo Shui's eyes flashed with a cold light as she said coldly, What are you doing? Aren't I afraid of being ambushed? I'll be closer to you, and you can protect me a little. Jiang Chun licked his face and said, What kind of joke was this? Ever since heaven was crowned, Jiang Chun had become the enemy of the entire world. Now, to let him cultivate without the protection of arrays, barriers, and restrictions, wasn't that courting death? Fortunately, he had Luo Shui by his side, and this fellow should be able to protect him. I can protect you, but you can't tell Luo Yang about what I told you tonight, Luo Shui said. Don't worry, Jiang Chen nodded and said. Then, the two of them stopped talking and began to cultivate. But in reality, Jiang Chun was not in the mood to cultivate, especially when he saw Luo Shui's long legs, her slender waist, and the pair of towering peaks. How could Jiang Chun still have the mood to cultivate? Throughout the night, Jiang Chun had been squinting his eyes and peeking out of the corner of his eye. When dawn broke, Luo Shui opened her eyes. With a teasing look in her eyes, she asked, Is it beautiful? Jiang Chen's face turned red. So Luo Shui knew that he was peeking. This isn't appropriate? Where will this king put his old face? Protect Luo Yang well. I'll let you see enough in the future. Luo Shui suddenly smiled charmingly, and then the purple light in her eyes disappeared. Immediately after, Luo Yang's side appeared. He rubbed his head and said, It's really strange. I'm already at the lower level of the divine realm. Why do I have to sleep every night? Jiang Chen chuckled and said, Maybe it's a habit. Of course, Jiang Chen wouldn't tell Luo Yang about what had happened at the Luo River. He only comforted him, Don't worry. When we find the rare treasure, I'll help you change your soul so that you can be a real man. As expected of Tianshun, what a brother. Luo Yang didn't say much and hugged Jiang Chun, not caring that he was a woman. Luo Shui, This is Luo Yang who wants to hug me. It has nothing to do with me. I refuse in my heart. Jiang Chun thought in his heart, but his hands were very honest. He secretly pinched her, but... Chapter 480. Luo Yang had always treated himself as a man, so he didn't care about Jiang Chen's actions at all. He even patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and said, You must help me. Don't worry. Jiang Chun patted his chest and promised, but his heart was so weak that he wanted to die. What kind of joke is this? How can I help you like this? Even if I find a heavenly treasure and refine a pill, it will be difficult for me to help you. In 3 days, the trial will begin. Let's make the best use of these 3 days to cultivate. Jiang Chen said. The third small world's trial grounds were these 6 palaces. Only those who entered the underground palace could enter the fourth small world. However, many people's ultimate goal was not the underground palace, but the heavenly palace. This was because there were many treasures in the heavenly palace, and there were even many long-lost cultivation methods, martial skills, and even secret and forbidden techniques. These things were treasures to any sect. Most importantly, anyone who entered the bloody path would praise themselves as geniuses, monsters. They were proud and arrogant, and they would not submit to anyone. Although many people had never fought with each other, there were still secret competitions. Just like now, many geniuses were secretly competing to see who could enter the heavenly palace first. For Jiang Chun, entering the heavenly palace was not a big problem. The problem was whether he would encounter enemies after entering the heavenly palace. One had to know that those who could enter the heavenly palace were all peerless geniuses. If he encountered a large group of enemies in the heavenly palace, Jiang Qin's situation would be very dangerous. However, when he thought of Luo Shui's upper-level God realm cultivation, Jiang Qin's heart calmed down a lot. In the next 3 days, Jiang Qin cultivated with Luo Yang during the day and secretly glanced at Luo Shui with admiration at night. His days were very comfortable, until 3 days later, in the morning on this day, altars appeared in the various palaces. There were array formations and restrictions around the altars, and there were also obscure runes that flickered like stars. And these altars were where the trial was located. 16 professions, 16 altars, plus a special altar for those with special professions to train. Jiang Chun and Luo Yang stood side by side as they looked at the 17 altars in the Jade Lady Palace's main hall. Their eyes could not help but flash with a trace of depression. This was because Jiang Chun was proficient in all professions. "I'll go first." Luo Yang was very decisive. He took a step forward and stood on the 17th altar. This was an altar specially designed for special classes. This left Jiang Chun puzzled. During this period of time, he had not heard of Luo Yang's occupation. From the looks of it, it should also be a rare profession. Meditate on all of them. At this moment, Jiang Chun hesitated for a while and then walked toward the first altar. Just after that, Jiang Chun felt a dreadful pressure being added to his body amidst the radiance. This was the martial master trial altar. On the other hand, martial masters specialized in cultivating their physical bodies. As the pressure became stronger and stronger, Jiang Chun still stood tall and straight, like a vigorous ancient tree. He didn't move even an inch. On the surface of his body, a layer of purple-gold radiance circulated, giving off the feeling of an emperor. And as the pressure increased, Jiang Chun could feel that his body was gradually changing. His flesh and blood became purer, and his blood vitality became more vigorous. After half an incense stick's time, the light on the altar disappeared. Jiang Chun walked out of the altar unscathed. At the same time, a rune fell into Jiang Chun's hand. This rune was a key. If he entered the underground palace in the future, or even the sky palace, he would need it. And to obtain this key, he had to pass the trial here. He went to the martial master trial altar. At this moment, a woman exclaimed in surprise. Everyone looked over at the same time and saw Jiang Chun standing on the arcane master's trial altars. "He dual cultivates martial arts?" Someone asked. "I say, are you all stupid? He is the reincarnation of God King Tianqin. He is proficient in all professions." One of the women rolled her eyes. Then, her eyes sparkled as she muttered, "Only a man like this is worthy of me. How could God King Tianqin like you? Stop arguing. When this old lady becomes a god, I will add him to my harem of 3,000. Hearing the conversations of the women around him, Jiang Chen's heart trembled. What's going on? These women, in front of others, they act like virtuous ladies. Why are they acting like hungry wolves in front of me? Could it be that this was differential treatment? Or do they really think that I, Jiang Yi, am a delicious cake that anyone can take a bite out of? Not bad. My mental strength has increased by a lot." Half an incense stick's time later, Jiang Chen walked down from the martial master trial altar. He felt refreshed, and his mental strength had increased by a lot. Then, he entered the sword master's trial altar. At this moment, sword flashes shot into the sky above the altar. Sword shadows danced around Jiang Chen like butterflies. Jiang Chen swayed his body on the altar and dodged the sword shadows. At the same time, powerful sword intents rushed into Jiang Chen's mind. Not bad, but compared to the barren sword intent, it is still lacking. Jiang Chen chuckled. After another hour had passed, Jiang Chen walked down from the Sword Master's trial altar. He happened to see Luo Yang walking down from the altar, too. Jiang Chen walked over and asked curiously, "Speaking of which, what's your profession?" "Earth Emissary." Luo Yang whispered, a trace of pride flashing across his eyes. Jiang Chen was struck dumb when he heard that. Earth Emissary had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. This was a profession that could truly control the power of the earth. According to legend, as long as the Earth Emissary stood on the ground, he would not be defeated. What's going on in this life? Even the Earth Emissary profession has appeared. Jiang Chen thought, is this really a great era? "Wait for me here," Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Next, Jiang Chen walked through the remaining Martial Master trial altars and easily passed all the trials. So far, Jiang Chen had a total of 17 key runes in his hand. After passing the trials here, he could use the rune key in his hand to enter the Underground Palace. After entering the Underground Palace, he could enter the Sky Palace after going through 18 bends and 9 tribulations. However, these 18 bends and 9 tribulations were very dangerous. Since ancient times, countless prodigies had died in these 18 bends and 9 tribulations. 17 rune keys, you can directly enter the Sky Palace. Luo Yang said enviously. 1 rune key could enter the Underground Palace. 3 or more could directly enter the Sky Palace. And Jiang Chen had a total of 17 rune keys. When Jiang Chen heard this, he said in all seriousness, "I said that I would help you. From now on, I will accompany you through thick and thin. If I were really a woman, I might really be moved by you," Luo Yang muttered, wiping the cold sweat on his forehead. "Fortunately, I'm a man." Chapter 481. He, male or female? What the hell do you know? Jiang Chen snickered in his heart. The reason why he wanted to be with Luo Yang was so that he could see more of Luo Shui. Of course, the most important thing was that Luo Shui asked Jiang Chen to help Luo Yang. Could Jiang Chen not help? Did he dare not help? If Luo Shui was angry, with his cultivation at the upper level of the God realm, killing Jiang Chen was just a matter of a slap. Moreover, Jiang Chen also needed a strong helper, and Luo Shui at night was the best candidate. In any case, everyone was mutually beneficial. Following that, Jiang Chen and Luo Yang entered the depths of the palace. There was a teleportation array there, and as long as the rune key was placed on it, they could enter the Underground Palace and even the Sky Palace. Jiang Chen only placed 1 rune key, and then was teleported to the Underground Palace with Luo Yang. The Underground Palace was very big and could even be described as a small world. There were mountains and rivers here, and even lakes and towering mountain peaks. Inside the Underground Palace, there was a very large ancient city. Anyone who had just entered the Underground Palace would be teleported here. The second beauty in the world, Luo Yang. Luo Yang. Just as Jiang Chen and Luo Yang were teleported out, exclamations and screams came from all around. Luo Yang frowned, and a trace of helplessness and disgust flashed across her eyes. Because in Luo Yang's heart, he was a man. But in the eyes of others, Luo Yang was the second beauty of the godless continent. "Luo Yang, why are you with Jiang Chen?" Someone said, "This kind of person will die sooner or later. Aren't you afraid of implicating yourself by being with him? He is the reincarnation of divine King Tianchen." Luo Yang's eyes focused. "I believe him." One had to know that mortals had an indescribable sense of trust in gods. Just like when Luo Yang first found Jiang Chen, it was because Jiang Chen was the reincarnation of Tianchen. That was all. And in Luo Yang's eyes, only such a person could help her change her soul. Therefore, the two of them walked together. Moreover, who I am with, what does it have to do with you? Luo Yang said solemnly. Just as Luo Yang said that, Jiang Chen's hair stood on end. This was because Luo Yang's voice had changed. Looking up at the sky again, a bright moon was already hanging high in the sky. This meant that the person in control of this body was Luo Shui. "Luo Yang, you have an engagement with the Azure Sea Sect's holy son. How can you be together with another man?" At this moment, A young man in an obscure robe walked out, his eyes flickering with anger. This person was a disciple of the Tsangming sect. He was extremely powerful, and his cultivation had reached the lower level of the deity realm. Is the holy son of the Azure Sea sect worthy of me? Luo Shui was very cold. His ice-cold voice contained a sense of arrogance. Moreover, after he finished speaking, the corners of Luo Shui's mouth suddenly curled up slightly, revealing a trace of ridicule. He pointed at Jiang Chun beside him and said, "Can the Azure Sea sect's holy son compare to him?" "Me?" Jiang Chen's face was in a mess. Looking at the sly smile on Luo Shui's lips, he instantly understood that he had been tricked. He's just a piece of trash at the saint stage. No matter how glorious he was in the past, he's just an ant in our eyes now. The Azure Sea sect's holy son said in a deep voice, "There's no need for the Azure Sea sect's holy son to make a move. I can suppress him." Whose disciple is this? Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Although Jiang Chen's cultivation is a little low, do you know what he did after entering the bloody path? His current reputation is not below that of the Azure Sea sect's holy son. Can a disciple of the Azure Sea sect, like you, fight against 10 peerless geniuses alone? At this moment, everyone around, regardless of whether they had enmity with Jiang Chun or not, spoke one after another. Some mocked the Azure Sea sect's disciple, while others slandered Jiang Chun. In response, Jiang Chen's face did not change at all. He only smiled at the crowd. The Azure Sea sect's disciple's face was flushed red. How could he let it go after being ridiculed like this? In the next moment, he took a step forward and pointed at Jiang Chun, saying, "Do you dare to fight with me?" "You're asking him if he dares." "Huh. He even dares to fight against a peerless genius at the middle level of the god stage. What are you, a lower-level god stage, worth?" Someone mocked. However, just as he finished speaking, Jiang Chun smiled and shook his head, saying, "I don't dare." "What?" At this moment, the group of people was dumbfounded. Back in the second small world, Jiang Chun fought against 10 peerless geniuses alone and fought against them. Now, facing a lower-level god stage youth, he was actually afraid to fight. This was not appropriate, right? Luoyang and the Azure Sea sect's holy son have an engagement, and he's also a disciple of the Azure Sea sect. This is their family matter. It's not appropriate for an outsider like me to interfere. Jiang Chun said with a smile. He would not help Luo Shui. This girl clearly wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife. "Hubby, that's not what you said last night." However, what surprised everyone was that after Luo Shui heard Jiang Chen's words, a layer of mist suddenly appeared in her eyes. Her long eyelashes blinked, and the tears in her eyes seemed to be about to fall. Her face was full of grievance and shyness, which really made the hearts of the surrounding male compatriots twitch fiercely. Beast? What a beast! At this moment, Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. Waiting for Luo Shui, it was very chaotic. "I say, can you be more normal?" Jiang Chen's face darkened and said, "This is really your family matter. It has nothing to do with me. Could it be that I've only slept with you?" Luo Shui's expression became more and more aggrieved, and bean-sized tears flowed down. At this moment, someone could not stand it anymore. He stepped forward and said to Luo Shui, "I'll help you settle this matter. From now on, you'll follow me. I don't mind your past." Jiang Chun, to think that you're the reincarnation of Tian Chun. I never thought that you were such a scum. Merciless, someone shouted angrily. When Jiang Chun heard this, his face darkened. He glared at Luo Shui, and then a smile appeared on his face. The next moment, in front of everyone, Jiang Chun hugged Luo Shui's waist and pulled her into his arms. Then he kissed her cherry-like lips fiercely. At this moment, it was Luo Shui's turn to be dumbfounded. Her eyes widened as she stared at the face in front of her. Her mind was blank. "You want to play with me? Can you afford to play with me?" Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes. Really, this woman's lips were really soft. Too much. Beast. Showing off love in public and spreading dog food. This is simply unforgivable. The second most beautiful woman in the godless continent has actually been taken by this pig. At this moment, wails sounded one after another. Some people even beat their chests and stamped their feet, looking like they had nothing to live for. You. Very good. After more than 10 breaths, Luo Shui reacted and pushed Jiang Chen away with a smile. The words, "You're very good," jumped out from between her teeth. It could be seen how furious Luo Shui was at this moment. Chapter 482. At this moment, the ancient city in the underground palace was in an uproar. Some people beat their chests and stamped their feet. Some had nothing to live for, and some glared at Jiang Chen, as if they wanted to fight him. Jiang Chen looked at the people around him and felt even more upset. If you guys are so envious, then why don't you do it? Do you dare? One had to know that Luo Shui's cultivation had reached the upper level of the divine realm. How despicable! Today, no matter what, I will teach you a lesson on behalf of the Holy Sun. The disciple of the Azure Sea sect roared. He took a step forward, and a dark light flickered on his body. Then, his body turned into a stream of light and rushed out. However, his figure turned into nothingness halfway and disappeared. Dark Master? Someone frowned and said, "The Azure Sea sect has a unique Dark Master cultivation method and martial technique. It's very difficult to deal with." Bang! However, in the next moment, everyone heard a muffled sound and saw that the Azure Sea sect disciple was sent flying by a slender hand. "This is my husband. You can't be presumptuous," Luo Shui said seriously. When these words came out, Jiang Chen immediately felt a murderous gaze from all around him. Damn it, Luo Shui, this woman, was taking revenge on him? Everyone knew that Luo Shui and the Azure Sea sect's Holy Sun were engaged, but now Luo Shui had slandered Jiang Chen in front of so many people. This, even if he jumped into the Yellow River, he wouldn't be able to clear his name? A pair of adulterous couple. My Azure Sea sect will not let you off. The Azure Sea sect disciple who was sent flying roared. Not only was there anger in his eyes, there was also humiliation and shame. His Holy Son's woman had run away with someone else, and in front of so many people, she had made his Holy Son wear a green hat. If this matter were to spread, not only would his Holy Son lose face, even the Azure Sea sect would lose face. What good will it do you to do this? At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was dark as he whispered into Luo Shui's ear. No good. Luo Shui frowned and said, but I don't want to be disturbed by others, so I might as well find someone to block it for me. The F***CK? So this shield is me? Jiang Chen's expression became more and more unsightly, but after a few breaths, Jiang Chen's expression returned to normal. What could he do? He could not defeat the Luo River. He had to swallow his anger. The Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect has already entered the Sky Palace. If you two have the guts, go to the Sky Palace. Someone shouted, Jiang Chen must die. I'm afraid Luoyang will become someone else's exclusive property. Someone whispered as their eyes burned with greed. Jiang Chen, on the other hand, didn't have much of a problem. After all, the entire world was his enemy, and he was already used to this kind of verbal warfare. However, Luo Shui could not tolerate this. She was originally proud and aloof, and her heart was as cold as ice. How could she endure the ridicule and humiliation of these people? At this moment, Luo Shui's aura soared. A cold glint flickered in his eyes as his body slowly floated into the air. He was like an exiled immortal that was fluttering in the sky. Bolts of lightning flickered around him, and the tune of the Grand Tao transformed into the sound of a bell. Boom! In the next moment, Luo Shui did not say a word. His white jade-like palm slowly pressed down. In an instant, wind, fire, and lightning erupted, and the power of light and darkness fluctuated. It was like a violent storm that drowned the people below. Ah! Luoyang, what are you doing? Stop it! Below, some people were screaming, some were begging for mercy, and some were shouting angrily, trying to resist. However, what awaited them was not Luo Shui's voice, but an even more terrifying wind, fire, and lightning. Luo Shui seemed to have gone berserk. With her cultivation at the upper level of the immortal state, she attacked the cultivators below indiscriminately. After this round, if not thousands of people died, then they would be letting down their cultivation at the upper level of the immortal state. Jiang Chen watched from the side, trembling in fear. He did not expect Luo Shui to have such a fierce side. Recalling the scene of him sneaking glances at Luo Shui, Jiang Chen could not help but feel a chill run down his back. Fortunately, I did not anger her back then, Jiang Chen muttered. Luo Yang, it's about time. At this moment, a red-clothed youth flew over, and a terrifying pressure filled the air. How many times have I told you? My name is Luo Shui. Luo Shui said in a deep voice. However, in the eyes of the world, there was only Luo Yang, not Luo Shui. Stop it, the red-clothed youth said. They have no enmity with you. Can I kill without enmity? Luo Shui said coldly. If you want to blame someone, blame their foul mouths. After saying that, Luo Shui raised her eyebrows, stared at the red-clothed youth, and said disdainfully, Yang Tian, you want to fight with me? Hearing this, Yang Tian immediately shook his head and smiled bitterly. How would I dare? I can't beat you, obviously. Yang Tian also knew how terrifying Luo Shui's strength was. Fortunately, Luo Shui was not a murderous person. After causing a ruckus, she did not kill many people and stopped. Then, under the crowd's jealous and envious gazes, Luo Shui held Jiang Chen's hand. She smiled gently and charmingly. She said, Husband, let's go and walk the 18 twists and 9 tribulations. I said I'm not going. Can I? Jiang Chen's body stiffened. For the first time, he experienced the feeling of being held by a beautiful woman, but trembling in fear. This feeling was simply worse than death. No, I think it's more comfortable to die. This woman is really beautiful. It's a pity that she's been taken by a pig. There are so many geniuses on this bloody path. There will be someone who can deal with her. When the time comes, she might become someone's exclusive property. After Jiang Chen and Luo Shui left, the place became lively again. They were all discussing the relationship between Jiang Chen and Luo Shui, and were also guessing whether the two of them could walk to the end of the bloody path together. Jiang Chen was completely unaware of this. He looked behind him and said, Can you let go now? There's no one around. Don't use me as a shield. You usually like to sneak glances at me. Now that I'm holding your hand, are you unhappy? Luo Shui said with raised eyebrows. Jiang Chen's face turned red before he said seriously. That's because of my admiring eyes. How can you say that I'm sneaking glances? If not for you taking care of Luoyang during the day, I would have slapped you to death. Luo Shui said solemnly. Divine King Tian Chen is not a good person either. Jiang Chen was speechless. He rolled his eyes and thought to himself, all right, you're right. Who asked you to be so powerful? Half an incense stick later, the two walked out of the ancient city and entered an official road. This official road led straight to where the heavenly palace was located, and on both sides of the official road, there was chaos. It was filled with restrictions and mystic arts, making it impossible to set foot in. If one wanted to enter the heavenly palace, they could only advance along this official road. After going through 18 bends and 9 tribulations, they could set foot in the heavenly palace. Now, the batch of geniuses walking at the forefront had basically entered the heavenly palace. There were even some who had stepped into the 4th and 5th small worlds. Now, Jiang Chen had to make the best use of his time and catch up to their footsteps. Chapter 483. At this moment, in front of the official road, Jiang Chen and Luo Shui were standing side by side. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. As the saying goes, a talented man and a beautiful woman. However, in reality, Jiang Chen's back was covered in cold sweat, and even his hands were trembling. It was all because this woman, Luo Shui, was too ruthless. Don't be afraid. I won't eat you. Luo Shui said. When have I ever been afraid of anyone? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows, looking very unyielding. Oh, is that so? Luo Shui asked with a smile that was not a smile. When these words came out, Jiang Chen's face immediately collapsed. Let's go. While I'm still here, I'll take you through a few more tribulations, Luo Shui said. Following which, Luo Shui held Jiang Chen's hand, and the two of them rushed forward like wild geese. The official road was very wide and long. Luo Shui brought Jiang Chen and rushed for 1,000 miles before arriving at the first bend of the official road. 18 bends, 9 tribulations, Luo Shui said. There's still 2 hours before dawn. I should be able to cross 9 bends with you. 9 bends in 2 hours? Are you kidding me? Jiang Chen said snappily. 1 bend is a trial. 1 bend is a heavenly tribulation. You can cross 9 bends in 2 hours? Luo Shui was very calm. After gently nodding, she raised her head to look at the sky. In the sky, the heavenly tribulation of the first bend had already appeared. At this moment, Jiang Chen focused his eyes, and the power in his body surged. He was ready. However, in the next moment, Luo Shui raised her hand and struck out with her palm. A vast and mighty power of the heavens erupted. Under the palm print, the 2 tribulation clouds collapsed at the same time. Not even a wisp of cloud was left. This. Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. What the hell was this? Jiang Chen had always thought that his heavenly tribulation was already very violent. However, he did not expect that there was someone even more violent than him. With a single palm, the 2 heavenly tribulations were annihilated. This didn't make sense? Luoyang is the emissary of earth, and I am the emissary of heaven. Luo Shui seemed to have noticed the confusion in Jiang Chen's heart. He could not help but explain, Heaven's emissary. How long has it been since this job appeared? Have you almost forgotten about it? Messenger of the heavens. Jiang Chen stared at Luo Shui as if he was looking at a monster. The messengers of the great earth were known to be invincible as long as they stood on the ground. This kind of profession was extremely rare since ancient times. Now, it was almost extinct. Previously, when he found out that Luoyang was the earth emissary, Jiang Chen was very shocked. However, he did not expect Luo Shui to be even more outstanding. The emissary of the firmament, also known as the overlord of the sky, Jiang Chen felt a little guilty and said, You are invincible just by standing in the firmament. That's just talk. However, that's pretty much it, Luo Shui said. That's all there is to it? Jiang Chen was stunned. Was being invincible just like that? The world has changed? Following that, Luo Shui continued to lead Jiang Chen forward. When they arrived at the second bend, Luo Shui's face turned cold. He stared at Jiang Chen and said, Hurry up. Oh. Jiang Chen was very obedient. After all, Luo Shui was too strong. As for the second bend, it was not a heavenly tribulation, but a trial. This kind of trial was actually very simple. It was nothing more than a trial to see if a person's physical body, mental strength, soul, and cultivation foundation were solid. And these things, to Jiang Chen, were simply child's play. In just a dozen breaths of time, Jiang Chen passed the trial. He thought that this speed was already very fast, but he found that Luo Shui was already waiting at the corner of the bend with an impatient look on her face. She said coldly, So slow? Jiang Chen did not know what to say. He opened his mouth, but could only say the word I. There was nothing he could do. He was indeed inferior to Luo Shui. This woman must be cheating. One had to know that in front of the 3 devils Jiang Chen, Lu Songyang, and Chen Lu Dao, he was very natural and did not feel any pressure. But now, in front of Luo Shui, he felt the pressure of a mountain. He was almost out of breath. Following that, under Luo Shui's lead, the 2 of them rushed forward. Everything about the heavenly tribulation was handed over to Luo Shui. This woman had basically annihilated the tribulation cloud with a single palm strike before it had even formed. The only thing that delayed time was their own trial. And every time, no matter how fast Jiang Chen passed the trial, Luo Shui would always be waiting for him impatiently at the bend. This caused Jiang Qin's self-esteem to suffer a great blow. If I didn't sever my own blade and cultivate the incomplete heavenly manual, my strength wouldn't be so weak. Jiang Chun felt wronged, but when he thought of the power of the incomplete heavenly manual, he felt much better. It was just a short period of forbearance. Could Jiang Qin not endure it? 2 hours later, Luo Shui and Jiang Qin walked through 9 bends, past 9 heavenly tribulations, and past 9 trials. I'm leaving. See you tonight. At this moment, dawn had already broken in the sky. After Luo Shui coldly said this, her body was controlled by Luo Yang. Luo Yang had just woken up and found himself in a completely unfamiliar place. Only Jiang Chun beside him was familiar. You were sleepwalking? Jiang Chun lied through his teeth. He was too lazy to make up a story to deceive Luo Yang. Jiang Chun also believed that Luo Yang was most likely used to this kind of thing. Then let's continue. After Luo Yang understood some things, he knew that he had arrived on the official road. Then, he patted Jiang Qin's shoulder and said gratefully, "Thank you for taking care of me when I was sleepwalking. Now, it's my turn to take care of you." Jiang Qin's old face turned slightly red. He really wanted to tell Luo Yang that before you, it was a person called Luo Shui who took care of me. Although Luo Shui's temper and personality were really, let's go. At this moment, without waiting for Jiang Qin to react, Luo Yang grabbed Jiang Qin's shoulder and rushed forward. As the messenger of the earth, Luo Yang's feet stepped on the ground. It was as if an endless amount of energy surged out from the ground and entered his body. She walked on the official road like a walking mountain. Every step she took caused dust to fly into the air. Half of the official road was trembling from her footsteps. "Keep a low profile," Jiang Qin muttered. He thought to himself, "You're not Luo Shui. Without Luo Shui's strength, why do you have to be so high profile?" However, in the next moment, when the two of them arrived at the 10th bend, 2 tribulation clouds appeared in the sky. Jiang Chun was completely speechless. Luo Yang stomped on the ground, and a thick color burst out, like thousands of stone pillars rushing up. In 3 breaths of time, the 2 tribulation clouds were scattered. "Pretend I didn't say anything. Please continue." Jiang Chun was speechless. He allowed Luo Yang to grab his shoulder and be dragged forward like a walking corpse. Chapter 484. Only when they encountered a trial would the two of them separate for a while and pass their own trials. Luo Yang's cultivation was below Luo Shui's. Although the two of them were the same person, there was still a gap in their strength. At that moment, Jiang Qin thought that since he had lost face in front of Luo Shui, he should be able to regain some face in front of Luo Yang, right? With that thought, Jiang Chun gave it his all and passed the trial in 10 breaths of time. However, when he walked out of the trial, he saw Luo Yang looking at him in astonishment. "Is the reincarnation of Tian Qin Divine King so weak? You actually need 10 breaths of time for such a small trial?" Luo Yang asked in astonishment. Jiang Qin almost collapsed. Was 10 breaths of time very long? One had to know that an ordinary person would need at least an hour. "Forget it, I don't want to compare myself with a monster like you." Jiang Qin felt more and more aggrieved. He even wanted to give up cultivating the incomplete heavenly manual. Ever since he started cultivating the incomplete heavenly manual, his combat strength had decreased greatly. Now, even his trials were despised by others. It was too miserable. This life is really bleak. Jiang Chun sighed in his heart, but he was happy to relax. In the end, under Luo Yang's strong leadership, the two of them used 3 hours to arrive in front of the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace was not very big and stood on top of a mountain peak. The surroundings were shrouded in clouds, and the heaven and earth Yuan Qi turned into divine light that floated in the air. At that moment, in front of the main entrance of the Heavenly Palace, there was a young man holding a magic staff standing there. "Newcomer, you want to enter the Heavenly Palace?" The young man said mockingly. He stretched out his hand and said, "Come, pay the entrance fee first. Jiang Chun had been sullen the entire way. Now that he saw someone collecting entrance fees at the entrance of the Heavenly Palace, Jiang Chun immediately became excited. It was time to show his strength. However, before Jiang Chun could make a move, Luo Yang's slender hand pushed out and a brown ripple spread out. It's useless. The entrance of the Heavenly Palace is filled with Maya rays. If I don't agree, no one can enter. The young man was very confident and did not even try to resist. It was because he believed that the formation in front of him was enough to block Luo Yang's palm strike. Boom! Boom! However, when 8 explosions rang out and the 8 formations before the young man collapsed, he began to panic. With the strength of a single palm, he had forcefully broken through 8 formations. Just based on this strength alone, it was not something that this young man could contend against. However, he did not leave. Instead, he shouted into the Heavenly Palace, "Someone is coming! Whoosh! Whoosh!" As he spoke, the 2 youths arrived at the gate of the Heavenly Palace. 2 middle-level Divine Realm martial artists. Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes, but when he saw Luo Yang, Jiang Chun felt much more relaxed. With Luo Yang, a middle deity realm emissary of the earth, dealing with ordinary cultivators was simply a piece of cake. And the truth was just as Jiang Chun thought. Luo Yang did not say another word as he pushed his palm out again. This time, the earth trembled as the energy of the earth erupted. Numerous earth spikes rose from the ground and transformed into an enormous cage that imprisoned the 3 of them. The second most beautiful person in the world is not only beautiful, but also very powerful. At that moment, on the city wall of the Heavenly Palace, a young man holding a purple halberd suddenly spoke. When he looked at Luo Yang, a trace of greed flashed across his eyes. After all, no one could remain calm in the face of a natural beauty like Luo Yang. Even Jiang Chun would steal a glance at her from time to time. No matter how beautiful or powerful she is, she belongs to the Azure Sea Sect's holy sun. What does it have to do with you? On the other side of the city wall, a young man holding a long spear mocked. What? You want to snatch her from holy sun, Azure Sea? Holy sun, Azure Sea? Heh, if there's a chance, I'd like to compete with him, the young man holding the halberd said, his eyes full of confidence. At that moment, Luo Yang ignored them. Instead, he nodded at Jiang Chun and said, "Let's go in. Are you looking down on the 3 of us? Do you think you can go in just because you want to? Heh, how arrogant. You've gone too far." After a few angry roars, the cage shattered. Following that, the 3 young men used all their means. One of them used an array formation, and chains burst forth like swimming dragons, rushing toward Jiang Chun and Luo Yang. Another drew his bow and shot an arrow, which tore through the air like a thunderbolt, sweeping up 1,000 feet of sharp light. Another person held a long saber and slashed down across the air, the saber light vast and mighty for more than 1,000 miles. "I don't want to play with you," Luo Yang said softly, raised his hand, and gently slapped down. The power of the earth erupted, rolling in the air like the Yellow River. Boom! Boom! Following a few explosions, the trio's attacks were all neutralized. At the same time, the power of the earth surged out like the Yellow River, drowning the trio. It was only when Jiang Chun and Luo Yang reached the gates of the Heavenly Palace that the trio rushed out of the power of the earth. However, they were already heavily injured. "Why don't you learn the good and learn the bad? Why are you charging the entrance fee?" Jiang Chun teased. "Why don't you take a look at whose entrance fee you're charging? Who are you?" One of them was stunned. He stared at Jiang Chun and said, "Does it have anything to do with you?" This. Jiang Chun heard this and was immediately confused. In this world, not to mention the younger generation, there were probably not many people in the older generation who did not know him, right? Following behind Luo Yang, "It's obvious that you're living off a woman," one of them said, but there was a hint of jealousy in his words. "Kid, you're dead meat. She's Saint Sun Song Ming's fiancée. You're so close to her, Saint Sun Song Ming won't let you off," another person said. Saint Sun Songming? If he's here, I'd like to compete with him. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. He couldn't beat Luo Shui or Luo Yang, but could he not beat Saint Sun Songming? However, as soon as Jiang Chen finished speaking, he saw a youngster flying over from the heavenly palace. He was riding a black skeleton horse and holding a spear in his hand. Before he arrived, his voice was already heard. I'm Saint Sun Songming's #1 general, Ji Lan. May I ask who you are? Why is Ji Lan still in the heavenly palace? This guy didn't leave with Saint Sun Songming? The two youths standing on the city walls were puzzled. When they looked at Ji Lan, a hint of fear flashed in their eyes. Jiang Chun was even more speechless. He looked at Ji Lan, whose cultivation had reached the upper level of the immortal realm, and felt a little guilty. What kind of joke was this? If Saint Sun Songming's subordinate was already so strong, then Saint Sun Songming himself, could it be that he had already broken through to the heaven realm? Do you want to change your soul? Jiang Chen saw that the situation was not right and had an idea. He said to Luo Yang, he's Saint Sun Songming's #1 general, so he must have many rare treasures on him. If we can subdue him, I understand. Luo Yang's eyes flashed when she heard that, and a terrifying power of the earth appeared under her feet. Like a dragon of the earth, it circled around Luo Yang. Vaguely, a divine light descended from the sky and poured into her head. Luo Yang, what's your relationship with him? Do you know that you're engaged to our saint? Ji Lan said in a low voice. Chapter 485. Any man would be concerned about the marriage of the second most beautiful woman in the world. Moreover, the person Luo Yang was engaged to was the Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect. The Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect was extraordinarily handsome and talented. His strength was unrivaled among his peers. As for Luo Yang, she was the second most beautiful woman in the world. Their marriage should have been a much-told story. But now, Luo Yang was walking with Jiang Chun. Moreover, their relationship seemed to be extraordinary. Don't worry. With me around, they can't hurt you. Luo Yang ignored the Azure Sea sect. Instead, she turned around and patted Jiang Chun on the shoulder to comfort him. Jiang Chun blushed slightly. Although he knew that this was Luo Yang, his restless heart could not help but twitch. What a disaster! Jiang Chun shouted in his heart. Luo Yang, I'm asking you on behalf of Holy Sun Azure Sea. Ji Lan shouted angrily as a trace of anger appeared in her eyes. What does that have to do with you? Luo Yang raised his eyebrows. His eyes flashed coldly as the energy of the earth rose around him. Forget it. Today, I'll suppress you and bring you to the Holy Sun to explain. Ji Lan said in a low voice. Then, her gaze landed on Jiang Chun as killing intent appeared in her eyes. As for you, this sky palace will be your burial ground. Luo Yang, if I really die, you'll have to ask someone else to change your soul, Jiang Chun muttered. Sigh. Luo Yang's eyes flashed fiercely when she heard that. He stared at Ran Lan and said coldly, If you dare lay a finger on him, I'll slaughter your entire clan. What? What's the relationship between these two? I feel like Holy Sun Azure Sea is being cuckolded. There were already many people around them who were watching the show. After Luo Yang said that, the surroundings became noisy. Could it be that the Holy Son of the Azure Sea sect was really being cuckolded? He's mine. Whoever dares to touch him will be my enemy. At this moment, Luo Yang's voice resounded like a bell. Oh my God, this is serious. She's really cuckolded? Holy Sun Deep Blue Sea was about to explode from anger. Will they come back from the small world ahead to kill this adulterous couple? Cries of surprise and discussion filled the air. Holy Sun Song Yan's followers also appeared and stood behind Ji Lan. Leave Luo Yang to me. You guys go and kill Jiang Chun, Ran Lan said coldly. Her icy gaze swept across the surroundings as she angrily shouted, All of you, shut up. Ming Lan, your holy son has been cuckolded, and you won't let anyone talk about it? Someone chuckled and said, This is big news. The Azure Sea sect is probably going to become a laughingstock. Huh? Ji-Lan's expression became more and more unsightly. He did not say anything else. With a wave of his hand, over 100 followers behind him charged out. The cultivation of these followers was very strong. All of them had reached the upper level of the great sage realm. Some of them were only a step away from the divine realm. However, in Jiang Qin's eyes, these people were like ants. It's fine as long as there are no divine realm cultivators. Jiang Qin said softly. He poked Luoyang's shoulder and said, I'll leave the person riding the skeleton horse to you. Be careful, Luoyang said. Then, she swept up a monstrous force of the earth and charged toward Ji-Lan with the momentum of wind and thunder. They're fighting. Let's see the strength of the second most beautiful woman in the world today. For a moment, everyone's eyes were locked on Luoyang and Ji-Lan. They ignored Jiang Qin. However, after a dozen breaths, the group of people's eyes fell on Jiang Qin. This was because Jiang Qin was standing alone in his original place. He was pinching hand signs. Many ancient portals fell from the sky. Many portals also rose from the ground. 3,000 floating life doors. 3,000 floating life doors. Someone exclaimed. This martial technique was the ultimate technique of the Luofu sect. This martial technique had already been lost in the current world. Could it be that Jiang Qin is the successor of the Luofu sect? Someone guessed. However, not long after, Jiang Qin executed the heavenly dance of light and darkness. Black and white light lingered. The two swords in his hands hummed. As he swept across, it was as if the black and white devils were moving side by side. Wherever he passed, blood sprayed out, and heads rolled down one after another. This, if I'm not wrong, it seems to be the heavenly dance of light and darkness. Someone recognized this move and exclaimed, This is the secret technique of the Black and White Sword sect. The Black and White Sword sect was destroyed long ago. Could he be the successor of the Black and White Sword sect? Someone asked in surprise. However, Jiang Qin soon executed another martial technique. In just half an incense stick's time, Jiang Qin executed more than 30 lost martial techniques in succession, shocking everyone. At the same time, more than half of the 100 followers had been killed by Jiang Qin. The remaining people's eyes were filled with fear and shock. They could not believe that a Sage Realm cultivator had such powerful combat power. This guy's combat power is comparable to a cultivator in the lower position of the immortal state, right? Someone exclaimed. He had to admit that Jiang Qin's combat power was strong. My combat power is slowly recovering. Jiang Qin was also surprised. However, he was overjoyed. Ever since he had cultivated the incomplete heavenly skill and severed himself, Jiang Qin's combat power had weakened. Now that he had cultivated the incomplete heavenly skill for some time, his combat power was slowly recovering. At this rate, Jiang Qin's combat power would be restored to its original state in less than a month. He might even be stronger than before. Formation, secret skill, octagonal prison. At that moment, the sun and moon shone in Jiang Qin's eyes. The power of heaven and earth flowed around him. He formed a seal with his hands, and runes shone around him like stars. Then, Jiang Qin pressed down with his palm. An octagonal prison fell and suppressed the remaining people. Luoyang, you're not done yet. Jiang Qin looked at Luoyang. Although Luoyang was strong, he was still a far cry from Luo Shui. With Luo Shui's strength, Ji-Lan might not even be able to block one of his attacks. He's a Nether Knight. Luoyang said angrily. Why don't you do it? Jiang Qin knew that Ji-Lan was a rare Nether Knight. After all, who would ride a skeleton horse for no reason? The skeleton horse was a creature that lived in the Nether Hell. Only necromancers and Nether Knights could summon it. Great light skill, holy light. At that moment, Jiang Qin shouted. A ray of holy light shot out from his palm and landed on Ji-Lan's body. Chi! Instantly, black fog emerged from Ji-Lan's body. It was as if his body had been burnt. At the same time, The skeleton horse under him screamed in pain. Then, it turned into a cloud of black fog and disappeared. Chapter 486. How do you know the Church of Light's great light technique? Jilon asked in a deep voice. As a nether knight, he was naturally afraid of light. As for the great light technique, it was a natural restraint for nether knights and necromancers. Why can't I? Jiang Chun said mockingly. Take care of yourself. Without the skeleton horse, I'm afraid you're going to suffer. Bang! As soon as Jiang Chun finished speaking, he saw Luo Yang forcing himself in front of Jilon. Then he clenched his slender hand into a fist and punched him in the face. With a muffled sound, Jilon was beaten to the ground. Then, he was imprisoned by the power of the earth and suppressed. Give it to me! At this moment, Luo Yang took Jilan's spatial ring without hesitation and searched inside. However, although there were many treasures in Jilan's spatial ring, there was nothing that Luo Yang wanted. In a fit of anger, Luo Yang crushed the spatial ring and crushed everything inside into powder. Hiss! Did you hear that? It's like the heartbreak of a broken heart. Someone gloated, and his expression was extremely exaggerated. I heard it. It sounds like Jilan's heart is broken. Someone at the side mocked. So many heavenly treasures are gone. His heart must be bleeding. Luo Yang! Jilan roared. His eyes were bloodshot and his hair danced wildly. It was obvious that he was furious. However, Luo Yang was very calm. A trace of disdain even flashed in his eyes as he said softly, "You're too poor." The people around were speechless. You crushed all his treasures and still despised him for being poor? How could a woman like you afford to raise him? Who spoiled him? Forget it. Let's enter the heavenly palace. There might be something inside, Jiangchen said. He walked to Luo Yang's side and patted his shoulder in front of everyone. If he couldn't beat Luo Shui, he could beat Luo Yang. He had to earn back the losses he suffered from Luo Shui from Luo Yang. This relationship is definitely not ordinary. As far as I know, Luo Yang definitely won't let any man touch his body. Not even a strand of hair. Intolerable. What can't you tolerate? Think about Holy Sun Deep Blue. That guy has a grassland above his head. It's so green that it's crazy. There was a constant clamor in the surroundings. Some were jealous, while others were mocking Saint Sun Deep Blue. Jiang Chun ignored these voices and stepped into the heavenly palace with Luo Yang. The heavenly palace was huge, like a small world. There was everything inside. There were mountains and rivers, birds and insects, beasts and birds. There was even a scripture pavilion, a pill refinement room, and a talisman room. It was like an academy. In addition, there was a medicinal field near the alchemy room where some rare treasures were planted. As long as one's overall strength was strong enough to withstand the formation in the herbal field, one would be able to harvest a few rare and precious herbs from the herbal field. As soon as Luoyang arrived, he went straight to the medicinal field. Jiang Chun, on the other hand, was not interested in these things. After walking around for a while, he headed towards the scripture pavilion. It was not Jiang Chun's first time coming to the Bloody Path, but he was not very familiar with it. At the very least, Jiang Chun did not know why someone would build the Bloody Path back then. Moreover, what was the meaning of building the Bloody Path? Could it be that it was just to nurture the younger generation? However, one had to know that the 18 families that built the Bloody Path back then had always lived at the end of the Bloody Path ever since it was built, never leaving. Then, the people who built the Bloody Path back then did not use it themselves, but let others use it instead? Was this reasonable? There was once a rumor that the Bloody Path was not used for training, but for killing. However, this rumor was quickly dispelled, because anyone who walked out of the Bloody Path alive would have their strength skyrocket, becoming a powerhouse of their generation. Although many people died in the Bloody Path, in a world where the strong preyed on the weak, it was normal for people to die. Moreover, no one forced anyone to enter the Bloody Path. After that, there was another rumor that it was a conspiracy of the 18 families in the Bloody Path. As for what kind of conspiracy it was, no one could say. However, there was once someone who found some clues in the Bloody Path. But before they could announce it to the public in time, They were secretly killed to silence their mouths. Now, Jiang Chun entered the bloody path once more. He indeed wanted to see what was going on with this bloody path. And, however, when Jiang Chun just arrived at the scripture storage pavilion, he suddenly felt that the surrounding environment had to change. Waves of mist rose up, following that were one obscure aura after another. Under this aura, Jiang Chen's emotions gradually calmed down, and even had a feeling of drowsiness. Illusory realm? Jiang Chen raised his brows and said, "Who are you? Did you set up an illusory realm here, specially to welcome me? This Jiang? Well deserving of being divine King Tian Chen's reincarnation, seeing through it with one glance." In the illusory realm, a voice that could not be distinguished between male and female sounded out. "It's just that you can tell that this is an illusory realm. Can you walk out? What do you think?" Jiang Chen chuckled and gently stepped on the ground with his left foot. Immediately, ripples spread out. The next moment, the scene in front of him shattered like a mirror. A few breaths later, the scripture storage pavilion's door appeared in front of Jiang Chen once more. The illusory realm had already collapsed. Not learning good things at such a young age, learning from others to create illusory realms? Jiang Chen raised his head and looked above the scripture storage pavilion's door. There, a girl in red was holding her chin and sizing up Jiang Chen. Her eyes shone with curiosity. This girl was not old and should be about the same age as Jiang Yueli. However, from the looks of it, she should be much more mature than Jiang Yueli. "Not fun at all?" The girl in red pouted and said, "Can't you play with me for a while?" "Little girl, find someone else to play with," Jiang Chen said with a smile, feeling that this girl was rather cute. However, just as he said that, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed and his figure retreated rapidly. Boom! The next moment, at the place where he was previously, a purple lightning bolt exploded, causing the space to explode. Black void storms wantonly spread out. "So boring." The girl in red curled her lips and said, "You found me again. Who are you?" At this moment, Jiang Chen no longer thought that this girl in red was cute. On the contrary, Jiang Chen's heart turned cold. "Me? Others call me Red Bean." The girl in red smiled. Her face was pure and cute, and even her eyes were so clear. However, Jiang Chen's heart tensed up. After entering the bloody path for so long, Jiang Chen had heard of many famous geniuses. Among them, there was a girl called Red Bean. It was said that this person was good at illusions and spells. She often used illusions to confuse her opponents and then used spells to kill them. Her illusions were impossible to guard against. Sometimes, the enemy would mistakenly think that they had broken the illusion, but they did not know that they were still in the illusion. "Illusionist, Red Bean?" Jiang Chen raised his brows and said coldly, "Do you really just want to play with me?" Chapter 487. Not really. Red Bean shook her head and said helplessly, "Someone gave me something good in exchange for your life. I liked it a lot, so I agreed." "So, he's an enemy?" Jiang Chen asked. "Should be." Red Bean giggled. Deep in her clear eyes, there was a hint of killing intent that was hard to detect. Red Bean looked innocent, but in reality, she was an assassin. "The Sacred Emperor Dynasty?" Jiang Chen said in a low voice. His eyes were filled with killing intent. The Saint Emperor Dynasty was a very mysterious organization. It was said that it was founded by a top assassin. This organization did not care about the ways of the world, good or evil. As long as the price was right, they would do anything for money. In this organization, there were a few famous young assassins, and one of them was Red Bean. Although she was young, her hands were stained with the lives of at least 1,000 people. Moreover, those who died at her hands were not weak. They were either the holy sons of some sect or the young masters of some family. Now, Red Bean's target was Jiang Chen. "You know about the Saint Emperor Dynasty?" Red Bean blinked and asked with a smile. "Do you want to join the Saint Emperor Dynasty?" "Ha, an organization that everyone despises," Jiang Chen said coldly. Red Bean laughed and said, "So what? Everyone has a purpose and value in life. The people of the Saint Emperor dynasty were born to kill. For profit, a group of people who will do anything, Jiangchen said. Little brother, what you said seems to make a lot of sense, Red Bean said with a smile. However, Jiangchen's heart was getting more and more nervous. This was because Red Bean's strongest point was illusions. As for Jiangchen, he didn't even know whether he was in an illusion or in reality. If this had happened in reality, with such a short distance between him and Red Bean, Jiangchen would have been able to kill it in an instant as long as he went all out. Red Bean was sure that Red Bean knew this. In that case, how could Red Bean give Jiangchen the chance? Thinking about it this way, what Jiangchen was seeing now should still be an illusion. Yin-yang eyes. At this moment, Jiangchen yelled out softly. In his eyes, the brilliance of the sun and moon appeared. For a moment, the scene in front of Jiangchen changed. At some point in time, colorful clouds had appeared beside and in front of him. Inside the clouds, there were cold glints that were approaching him. The closest one was only 3 inches away from Jiangchen. Jiangchen was shocked. If he had reacted a little slower, this cold beam would have penetrated his corporeal body. Moreover, it was very likely that he would be killed by this cold light. Boom! With a punch, Jiangchen shattered the cold light. Following that, his hands danced in the air. The power of heaven and earth was like a whirlpool, tearing apart the 5 colored clouds around him, turning them into clouds and smoke. At this moment, Jiangchen saw that there were a total of 6 people standing in front and behind him, and right in front of him was Red Bean. I didn't expect to break the illusion so quickly. Red Bean frowned and shouted at the other 5 people. You came so late. If you came earlier, he would have died. Master Red Bean now, one of them asked. Judging from their attitude towards Red Bean's status in the Saint Emperor dynasty was not low. Where is Luo Yang? Red Bean asked. In the herb field. He can't come out for now. Someone said. Red Bean's eyes flashed coldly when she heard that. She looked at Jiangchen ferociously and sneered. Who can help you now? I don't need anyone to help me. Jiangchen said softly. In the outside world, I might need to seek protection. But in the blood path, you'd better not provoke me. Yeah, you're just a saint. What can you do? Red Bean said disdainfully. The 6 of us are enough to kill you. Let's try. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. He did not believe it. Among the 6 people, only Red Bean's cultivation base was in the godly realm. The other 5 were in the upper level of the great sage realm. What could these few people do to him? God seal of the 6th Daos formation. In the next moment, Jiangchen watched in surprise as the 6 people formed a hexagram with their hands. In a few breaths of time, a formation was formed. In an instant, Jiangchen could feel the power of the 6 Daos erupting. It was like invisible shackles that imprisoned him. The power of the 6 Daos? Jiangchen was shocked. He did not expect that the 6 people in front of him could use the power of the 6 Daos. Moreover, they used the long-lost god seal of the 6 Daos formation that even Jiangchen did not know how to use. If this formation was cultivated to the Mahayana stage, it could even seal a deity. Can you still move now? Red Bean said disdainfully. Killing you is as easy as lifting my hand. Heh, Jiangchen chuckled. Although he could not move, it did not mean that the others could not. At least, Jiangchen's Taoist soul could still move. Buzz! With a loud buzz, the Emperor's vine appeared behind Jiangchen. Then, 2 huge vines shot out from the Emperor's vine like 2 arms. However, the 2 vines did not attack. Instead, they stood on the spot and performed a set of fist techniques. This set of fist techniques was very ordinary, but it gave off an obscure and profound feeling. The Emperor's vine Taoist soul is a good Taoist soul, Red Bean said disdainfully. However, do you think you can break out of the god seal of the 6 Daos formation with this Taoist soul? You talk too much, Jiangchen said mockingly. If you didn't talk, you would have killed me dozens of times in this short period of time. But now it's a pity. Jiangchen's eyes shone brightly. Just as he finished speaking, 6 rays of light shot out from the 2 vines. There was also a terrifying power of the 6 Daos. What is this? What a terrifying power of the 6 Daos. This is the 6 Daos reincarnation fist. At this moment, Red Bean and the others exclaimed. Before they could dodge, they were hit by the fist radiance. In an instant, the 5 of them were crushed by the fist radiance. Only Red Bean managed to dodge, but half of her body was turned into dust. Even her divine soul dimmed. She was almost killed. I can't move, but it doesn't mean that my Daoist soul can't move. Jiangchen chuckled. Under the 6 Daos reincarnation fist, the god seal of the 6 Daos formation collapsed. At this moment, Jiangchen walked to Red Bean and pinched her innocent face. He said coldly, "Now, what should we do? You're the Tian Chen Divine King. You shouldn't be interested in the life of a nobody like me, right?" Red Bean said. Then she put on a pitiful look and said, "Little brother Tian Chen, let me go. I won't dare to do it again." "Okay, I'll let you go." Jiang Chen smiled. He let go of Red Bean's face and turned to enter the scripture depository. This time, Red Bean was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that Jiang Chen would let her go just like that. Could it be that Jiang Chen was really stupid? Or could it be that he was protective of her? However, no matter what, Red Bean heaved a sigh of relief. After looking at Jiang Chen's back, she hurriedly left. Chapter 488. How could one catch a big fish without casting a long line? Jiang Chen didn't let Red Bean go because he was soft-hearted or protective of her. He just wanted to know who had issued a mission in the Sacred Emperor dynasty. Jiang Chen knew that with the Martial Pavilion's strength, there was no need for the Saint Emperor dynasty to help them. Furthermore, there was a deep grudge between the Martial Pavilion and the Saint Emperor dynasty. A holy son of the Martial Pavilion had died at the hands of the Saint Emperor dynasty. You can only stay in the Scripture Pavilion for 1 day. As soon as Jiang Chen entered the Scripture Pavilion, he heard an ancient voice. Jiang Chen looked over and saw an old man in a gray robe in a corner of the first floor of the depository of Buddhist scriptures. Jiang Chen observed him with his yin-yang eyes, sun and moon eyes, and found that he was a Davis Blight powerhouse. "Who are you, senior?" Jiang Chen asked. "Lin Suori of the Lin clan, one of the 18 clans." The old man waved his hand and said, "You can find everything here. Don't waste time." "Thank you, senior." Jiang Chen nodded. The people of the 18 clans had lived on the Blood Path since it was built. It could be said that in every small world on the Bloody Path, there were people from their side. They were the guardians of the Blood Path, guarding every corner to prevent anyone from destroying it. "You are not allowed to enter the 3rd floor," Lin Suori said. His tone was filled with warning. Jiang Chen nodded. Naturally, he would not go against Lin Suori, a Davis Blight powerhouse. Then, Jiang Chen began to flip through the ancient books. After half an incense stick of time, Jiang Chen had flipped through all the ancient books on the 1st and 2nd floors. Other than a few lost cultivation methods and martial skills, there was nothing else. Jiang Chen was a little frustrated. He thought to himself, "Are these the only things in the depository of Buddhist scriptures?" Jiang Chen suddenly raised his head and looked towards the door leading to the 3rd floor. There was a thick layer of dust on the door. Obviously, no one had been there for a long time. So why was the 3rd floor of the Scripture Pavilion not open to anyone? Could it be that there was some kind of secret hidden inside? Puzzled, Jiang Chen couldn't help but walk up to the gate. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed when he saw an ancient rune on the door. This rune was like a circle, but there was a 6-pointed star pattern on the outside. Beside the rune, there was a line of small ancient characters. Ordinary people would not be able to recognize these ancient characters. After all, they were characters from the ancient times. However, Jiang Chen was very knowledgeable. He was very familiar with these ancient characters. Jiang Chen recognized these ancient characters at first glance. 18 families are forbidden to enter, Jiang Chen thought to himself. He wondered if the depository of Buddhist scriptures on the 3rd floor was targeting the 18 families in the Bloody Path. In that case, outsiders like them should be able to enter this place. But why did Lin Suori not allow outsiders to enter the sutra depository on the third floor. Is there a secret hidden inside? Jiang Chen thought and closed his eyes. A strand of divine thought flew out from his soul and entered the scripture pavilion through the gap in the door. The scripture pavilion on the third floor was not very big, and it was very spacious. There was only a table with an ancient book on it. Other than that, there was nothing else. Jiang Chen was very curious. Was there only one ancient book in the entire scripture pavilion? What was recorded in this ancient book? Jiang Chen opened the ancient book with his divine thought. When the ancient characters on the first page appeared in front of him, Jiang Chen's heart palpitated. Jiang Chen read carefully. When he finished reading the ancient characters on the first page, he was shocked. The first page of the ancient book stated that the bloody path was not for people to train, but a forbidden place. A group of vicious sinners were imprisoned there. They were known as the sinners of the entire godless continent. At the same time, there was a group of guardians in the bloody path. They had been guarding the sinners for generations. Could it be that the people of the 18 families have been staying in the bloody path to guard the sinners? Jiang Chen thought and continued reading. At the end, Jiang Chen found that the last page of the ancient book was torn. However, the last page was the most important one. The bloody path is a forbidden place. There are sinners and people guarding the sinners. Jiang Chen frowned and felt that something was not right. Who were the sinners of the entire godless continent? Or rather, who were they? And were the people who were guarding these sinners really the 18 families? If not, what kind of avatars did the people of the 18 families use to stay in the bloody path? Moreover, where were the sinners who were sealed in the bloody path? And why did this forbidden land become a training ground for future generations of geniuses? What exactly was going on? Jiang Chen thought for a long time, but could not figure it out. His divine will return to his soul. Then, Jiang Chen pretended to ignore it and left the scripture pavilion. However, as he left the scripture pavilion, Jiang Chen looked at Lin Suori, whose back was facing him. He felt that there was something strange about Lin Suori. However, Jiang Chen could not pinpoint exactly what was strange about him. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen walked out of the scripture pavilion. His eyes narrowed as he saw a formation taking shape outside the scripture pavilion. Behind the formation, Red Bean and a young man stood there, their eyes flashing with killing intent. I was kind enough to let you go. Why did you come back? Jiang Chen said mockingly. Do you think I'm soft-hearted? Do you want to throw away your life again? You are Jiang Chen? Red Bean did not speak. The young man standing beside her raised his eyebrows and said, Someone is looking for the Saint Emperor dynasty to buy your life. Who is looking for the Saint Emperor dynasty? Jiang Chen asked. You are about to die. Why do you need to know so much? The young man pointed in front of Jiang Chen and said, You better stay in the scripture pavilion for the rest of your life. Otherwise, the formation in front of you is enough to kill you several times over. A tactical formation? Jiang Chen smiled. He said, How many times can such a tactical formation kill me? Your joke is not funny at all. Try it if you don't believe me. The young man said mockingly, Don't think that just because you are the reincarnation of Tianqian Deity King, you are invincible in this era. You should know that this era is going to be glorious. There are many people stronger than you. Jiang Chen nodded. He had to admit that this era was different. In this era, there were many sage bodies and many high-level Dao souls. There were even more geniuses who could challenge him. If this trend continued, this era was destined to be glorious. But so what? In Jiang Chen's eyes, enemies, demons, ghosts, and anyone who dared to stand in his way would be crushed. Do you know how childish your words are? Jiang Chen said softly. He pressed his palm down, and the power of all transformations erupted. Ripples spread out. Wherever the art of all transformations passed, the formation in front of him dissipated and turned into wisps of divine light. In just 10 breaths of time, the formation in front of him had disappeared. Chapter 489. You think you can trap me with this formation? Jiang Chen said disdainfully. He took a step forward and used spatial bending to appear in front of Red Bean and the young man. However, The strange thing was that Red Bean and the young man were not afraid at all. In fact, when Jiangchen appeared in front of them, there was a hint of mockery in their eyes. Did I fall into a trap? Jiangchen was shocked and hurriedly moved to the side. However, before he could move half a step, a bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere and struck Jiangchen with lightning speed. Boom! At this moment, Jiangchen's body started to tremble. His holy soul had almost been destroyed by this thunderbolt. He's not dead? How is that possible? Red Bean and the young man exclaimed. After all, that bolt of lightning was condensed from the power of the heavens, the god-slaying lightning. Even a godly state cultivator would be reduced to ashes by this god-slaying lightning. But now, Jiang Chun, a sage state cultivator, had actually withstood the god-slaying lightning. This wasn't right? God-slaying lightning? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, his heart still palpitating with fear. If not for his strong physical body, which had blocked most of the god-slaying lightning's power, his soul would have been destroyed on the spot. You guys are really something, Jiang Chun said in a low voice. He charged forward, his hands reaching out like dragon claws and grabbing the top of their heads. Speak. Who gave you the mission? Jiang Chun said coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. Don't you know the rules of the Saint Emperor dynasty? The young man said contemptuously. From the day we joined the Saint Emperor dynasty, we learned one thing. Even if we die, we can't reveal the identity of our employer. Then you can die, Jiang Chun said softly. His 5 fingers closed and crushed the young man's head. Instantly, red and white matter splattered everywhere, splattering Red Bean's face. Red Bean's face was pale, and her eyes were filled with fear. She was scared. How many people could remain fearless in the face of death? Maybe there was, but not everyone could do it. Not even an assassin from the Saint Emperor dynasty. I've already spared you once, Jiang Chun said softly. His eyes narrowed as he stared at Red Bean. This is your last chance. I don't know. Red Bean's face was covered in cold sweat. Trembling, she said, I'm only responsible for killing you. As for who gave me the task, I don't know. Oh, who knows? Jiang Chun asked. Infernal. He knows. Hongdo said. Infernal is a holy son of the Saint Emperor dynasty. The mission this time was arranged by him. I've told you everything. Let me go. Let me go one more time. Red Bean was trembling all over. In the face of death, she was completely scared. However, it was a pity that Jiang Chun wouldn't let her go this time. Bang! The next moment, Jiang Chun closed his hand and crushed the top of Red Bean's head. Then he waved his hand and said softly, Infernal? A holy son of the Saint Emperor dynasty? Yeah, I'll have to meet you sooner or later. Jiang Chun, I found it. At that moment, Luo Yang's voice came from afar. Then she came up to Jiang Chun excitedly. Holding dozens of rare treasures in her hands, she said excitedly, I found all the rare treasures needed to refine elixirs. At that moment, Jiang Chun was a little confused and did not know what to do. He did not expect that there would be so many natural treasures in the medicine field in the Heavenly Palace. Now that he had found all the natural treasures, was it time to refine the pills that could change the soul? But Luo Yang did not have 2 souls. I still need some primers. Jiang Chun pretended to be deep in thought. He rubbed his chin and said, I need the blood essence of a true phoenix, the whiskers of a true dragon, and a drop of blood from the heart of a vermilion bird. You need so many things? Luo Yang asked. Nonsense, do you think it's so easy to refine pills that can change the soul? Jiang Chun said angrily, but he was panicking. If Luo Yang found out that he was lying to her, then with Luo Yang's character and strength, Jiang Chun would probably be suppressed on the spot. Fortunately, Luo Yang trusted Jiang Chun. After all, in her eyes, gods were omnipotent, and gods would not lie to mortals. Sigh, right? Suddenly, Luo Yang looked at Jiang Chun excitedly and said, I remember that you have a dragon and a phoenix by your side. I think there's also a vermilion bird. As soon as she said that, Jiang Chun wanted to slap himself twice. Of all things, he had to say a dragon, a phoenix, and a vermilion bird. One had to know that the three great virtues were the dragon, the nine netherworld phoenix, and the vermilion bird. This, Jiang Chun felt guilty and asked weakly, "Those three guys are my underlings, you can't. Don't worry, when I meet them, I'll just ask them to give me some blood essence and scales," Luo Yang said with a smile. However, Jiang Chun looked at Luo Yang's smile and felt his scalp go numb. What if the three great virtues refused to give it to him? With Luo Yang's temper, she would most likely rob him, right? At that time, who would be able to stop her? Three great virtues, it's my fault. I've let you down. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly in his heart. He hoped that he would not meet the three great virtues in a short period of time. However, that was what he thought in his heart, but the reality was very cruel. "Boss, I'm here." At that moment, an extremely ear-piercing voice came from afar. Looking over, wasn't that Huang Dade? He rushed in front of Jiang Chun with an excited face and said, "Boss, you've been here for a long time? You're even faster than us." Cough, cough. If you have something to do, go do it first. Jiang Chun gave Huang Dade a look, hinting for him to leave. However, with Huang Dade's IQ, he knew nothing. He was good at swindling and swindling people. "You're Huang Dade?" Luo Yang looked at Huang Dade with a smile, his eyes twinkling. "Ha! So, everyone has heard of my name?" Huang Dade said arrogantly, "Looks like I'm destined to be famous in this life. Let the world remember me. Stupid bird, why aren't you leaving?" Jiang Chun gritted his teeth and said anxiously, "Little girl, you're quite pretty. Why don't you follow me from now on and be my bed-warming maid?" Huang Dade's true nature was exposed as he stared at Luo Yang pervertedly. At this moment, Jiang Chun turned his head around directly. He covered his ears with his hands and closed his eyes. He really didn't want to see or listen to this anymore. Luo Yang hated it when people thought that he was a woman. As expected, Luo Yang chuckled and the earth's energy exploded, turning into chains and trapping Huang Dade. "Little girl, what are you doing?" Huang Dade exclaimed. Then he realized something and said, "Don't tell me you're not suitable? You want to do it with me in broad daylight? That's impossible. Although, I don't mind, but it's better to find a place where there's no one around." Huang Dade mumbled shyly, "I think you're thinking too much." Luo Yang's face darkened and his eyebrows twitched. What a pervert. Chapter 490. As soon as he finished speaking, a cold light shot out from Luo Yang's hand and sliced open Huang Dade's body. Then, a strand of divine will entered Huang Dade's body and extracted more than 10 drops of blood essence. "Are you trying to kill me? More than 10 drops of blood essence. I'm going to lose half of my life." Huang Dade was panicking as he cried and screamed at Jiang Chun for help. However, Jiang Chun had no other choice. "You didn't notice that I was trying to signal you with my eyes, and you were flirting with Luo Yang. No one can help you now. More than 10 drops of blood essence should be enough, right?" At this moment, Luo Yang let go of Huang Dade and walked up to Jiang Chun. "It's enough. 1 drop is enough," Jiang Chun said. In actual fact, Phoenix blood was not needed for a pill that could change one's soul. "Boss, she bullied me. Didn't you see? Aren't you going to help me?" Huang Dade felt wronged. He had just returned to Jiang Chun's side when he was drained of his blood. After he was drained of his blood, the phoenix feathers that he had painstakingly regrown fell off again. At this rate, when would he be able to regrow all his phoenix feathers? Could it be that he would have to live the rest of his life without any feathers? "Huang Dade, my condolences." Jiang Chun could only comfort him in this way. Huang Dade was about to cry his eyes out. What kind of world was this? Cough, cough. "Go and look for Niao Dade and Long Dade. Tell them not to meet up with me for now," Jiang Chun whispered to Huang Dade. Huang Dade nodded and said, "I'll go and look for them now." However, Huang Dade's eyes flashed with a strange look. He looked at Jiang Chun and then at Luo Yang and connected the dots between Jiang Chun's words. The next moment, his eyes lit up as if he had understood something. Then, Huang Dade left with his face full of tears and his feathers all over the floor. Have you been to the scripture depository? At this moment, Jiang Chun looked at Luo Yang and asked, there are some lost cultivation techniques and martial skills inside. You can go take a look. There's no need. Luo Yang shook his head and said, I don't lack those things. When these words came out, Jiang Chun couldn't help being curious as to which sect Luo Yang was a disciple of. One had to know that to be able to marry the Azure Sea sect's holy son, not only did she need to have looks, she also needed to have status. Ordinary women, no matter how beautiful they were not worthy of holy son Sangming. Which sect are you from? Jiang Chun asked curiously. Beside the Luo River. Luo Yang frowned and said, don't you know? I know. Jiang Chun was stunned. But there are so many sects and clans on the banks of the Luo River. How would I know which sect you belong to? There's only one family with the surname Luo on the banks of the Luo River. Luo Yang said unhappily, a descendant of Luoshan's direct bloodline. He put on a smiling face and said, I'll listen to you. Then let's cultivate for 10 days. Luo Shui nodded. Jiang Chen's face stiffened as he cursed in his heart. Isn't it the same? Following that, the two of them walked side by side. Under the puzzled and envious gazes of the crowd, they walked towards the spirit-gazing mountain. Along the way, there were people pointing at Luo Shui and discussing among themselves. She's clearly engaged, yet she's still so close to another man. Shameless. She looks cold and arrogant on the surface, but who knows if she's a fickle woman. Listening to the voices coming from all around, Jiang Chun thought that if it were him, he would probably start a massacre. However, Luo Shui acted as if he didn't hear anything and continued walking. Don't you care? Jiang Chun asked. I'm a human. I don't understand barking. Luo Shui said softly. Luo Yang, what do you mean? At this moment, someone rushed over. Clearly, he had heard Luo Shui's words. My name is Luo Shui. Luo Shui said, a trace of helplessness flashing across his eyes. It was because the world only knew Luo Yang, but they did not know Luo Shui at night. I don't care if you're Luo Yang or Luo Shui. You have to be responsible for what you said just now. The youth shouted angrily. The aura of a middle-level divine realm expert erupted, and like a brilliant sun, he slowly rose. However, when Luo Shui's aura erupted, the youth's face immediately collapsed. Take responsibility? Why don't you try? Luo Shui glanced at him and said with disdain, You're so weak. Where did your courage come from? Sister Luo Shui, I'm just joking. Take care. The youth could be considered shameless. With a chuckle, he turned around and ran. You're really good, Jiang Chun teased. With your looks, can you still get married in the future? It's good that I can't get married. I can muddle along with a divine king like you. Luo Shui said softly, as if there was a hidden meaning in his words, causing Jiang Chun to be stunned. Chapter 491. Upon witnessing Luo Shui's calm and aloof expression, Jiang Chun couldn't help but think to himself that he was overthinking things. Following that, the two of them continued forward and soon arrived at the foot of Spirit Gazing Peak. There were quite a few people who entered the Heavenly Palace. After all, there were many geniuses who entered the Blood Path. In total, there were at least 50,000 people who had the strength to enter the Heavenly Palace. Now, there weren't many people at the foot of Spirit Gazing Peak, but there were still close to 10,000 people. These people divided their own territories, each minding their own business and cultivating. No one disturbed each other. This was an unwritten rule. After all, everyone here was here to cultivate. If anyone disturbed others' cultivation, it was very likely that others would be implicated. At that time, there would be a chaotic battle here. In this way, it was better to cultivate on their own. Whoever had a grudge could go elsewhere to settle it. The second most beautiful woman in the world, Luo Yang, the reincarnation of Divine King Tian Chun, Jiang Chun. At this moment, exclamations came from all around. There were even people who spat, a pair of dogs. Regarding this, Jiang Chun had a smile on his face, not caring at all. After all, he was a man. In this kind of matter, he would not lose out. Moreover, even Luo Shui did not care. What did a man care about? However, when the two of them were about to go up the mountain, a few youths stood out and blocked the path to Spirit-Gazing Peak. Not everyone can climb the mountain. One of them said coldly, Luo Yang can, but you can't. Zhang Chun pointed at himself and asked, I can't? Why? Are you blind? Without deity realm cultivation, you are not allowed to enter Spirit-Gazing Peak. Another youth said solemnly, don't think that with Luo Yang protecting you, you can break the rules. When did this kind of rule exist here? Zhang Chun asked curiously. Zhang Chun had come to Spirit-Gazing Peak before. At that time, there was no such rule. It's the rules set by my lord. You're not convinced? A youth raised his eyebrows and said, my lord is the young master of the northern Liang barbarian race. I thought it was the Bloody Path who set the rules again. I didn't expect it was you guys who set it. Zhang Chun curled his lips and said, those are your rules. They don't suit me. After saying that, Zhang Chun lifted his foot and was about to step onto the mountain path. How dare you? How dare you? At this moment, these few youths roared out in anger. Some of them even attacked directly. Their palms were like mountains and rivers that pressed down on Zhang Chun. Zhang Chun's eyelids drooped slightly as the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He said softly, not everyone is qualified to make a move against me. At the very least, none of you are. Boom! The moment his voice fell, Zhang Chun did not make a move, but the few youths were sent flying. So strong, he sent them flying with just his own aura. As expected of the reincarnation of the heavenly stellar God King. Exclamations sounded from all around, but no one thought that Zhang Chun would be able to walk up the Spirit-Gazing Peak. Because the young master of the northern cold barbarian tribe was on Spirit-Gazing Mountain. If you want to beat a dog, you have to look at its owner. At this moment, an extremely rough voice sounded from Spirit-Gazing Mountain. Following that, a youth wearing animal skin and holding a mace jumped down. Like a comet, he smashed in front of Zhang Chun. In an instant, dust flew as violent spiritual energy wantonly. There was even the aura of a godly state erupting. You are the young master of the northern cold barbarian tribe? Zhang Chun raised his eyebrows as his aura gradually rose. The brilliance of the sun and moon floated in his eyes. However, without waiting for Zhang Chun to make a move, Luo Shui took a step forward and pressed his palm on the youth's body. The youth's reaction was very fast, but he was not faster than Luo Shui. Under the palm, the youth's body trembled as cold sweat broke out on his forehead. After a few breaths, he knelt on the ground. We're going to cultivate here for 10 days. During these 10 days, I will have the final say with him. Luo Yang said softly. She nodded at Zhang Chun and said, let's go up. I'm hugging a thigh. Zhang Chun's face turned red. He thought to himself that the world had really changed. He had let a woman protect him. However, this feeling was quite good. Zhang Chun was very lazy to begin with. Under normal circumstances, he would not be bothered to make a move. Now that he had Luo Shui, who was willing to make a move, Zhang Chun was naturally very satisfied. However, before they could take a few steps, they saw a tall and sturdy youth fly down from the mountain peak and block in front of Luo Shui. This person's blood energy soared into the sky like a primordial beast. As his eyes opened and closed, a fierce light burst forth. Young master of the northern cold barbarian tribe, Man Xiaoxiong. The burly youth said in a deep voice as he stared at Luo Shui and said, you can go up, but he can't. You don't have the final say here. Luo Shui raised her eyebrows. Then let's give it a try. Man Xiaoxiong shouted loudly and directly soared into the sky. He even sent a voice transmission down. Little girl, do you dare to come? Little girl? Ha! Ha! The cold light in Luo Shui's eyes soared, and her laughter became strange. Zhang Chen's heart trembled. This was the first time he had heard such a terrifying and sinister laugh from Luo Shui. Get the hell down! At this moment, Another youth rushed down from the mountain peak. With a furious roar, his fist was like a golden stone tablet as it pressed down towards Jiang Chun. Seeing this, Jiang Chun quickly retreated. At the same time, the power of heaven and earth in his hand transformed into a longbow and shot it through the air. Whoosh! With the sound of the air being torn apart, the arrow pierced through the void and pierced through the youth's shoulder blade, nailing him to the mountain wall. Boom! However, with an explosive sound, the youth's aura erupted, and the power of the lower divine stage surged. His figure shook and broke the arrow on his shoulder blade, and then his figure moved horizontally like a ferocious tiger as he pounced towards Jiang Chun. All of you, can't you all just stop for a moment? Do you know you're disturbing me? Before this punch could land, a woman's voice sounded out from the mountain peak. At this moment, the expressions of the youth and man Xiaoxiong changed slightly, and then they turned around and returned to the mountain peak. At this moment, Jiang Chen's expression was extremely strange because this voice was too familiar to him. As he thought, Jiang Chen turned around and didn't intend to go to the top of Spirit Gazing Peak. However, Luo Shui returned to Jiang Chen's side and said in a low voice, "Spirit Gazing Peak isn't owned by your family. Today, I'll take him to Spirit Gazing Peak." I'm not feeling well, so I won't go. Jiang Chen's expression became even more strange, and he wanted to pull Luo Shui's hand away. However, Luo Shui seemed to have a stubborn temper, and he pulled Jiang Chen's hand and directly charged towards the top of Spirit Gazing Peak. It's over. Can this be explained clearly? Jiang Chun felt bitter in his heart, and he said to himself, I'm afraid a battle that annihilates the heavens and the earth is about to erupt. At this moment, Jiang Chun could only pray in his heart. He hoped that he'd heard wrongly and that the woman at the top of Spirit Gazing Peak wasn't her. Chapter 492. Luo Shui brought Jiang Chun along as they rushed against the flow, and no one stopped them. When the two of them arrived at the top of Spirit Gazing Mountain, they saw man Xiaoxiong and the others standing behind a woman. They seemed to be very respectful to this woman, and their eyes flickered with reverence. When Jiang Chun saw this woman, his face instantly collapsed, especially when he realized that his hand was still being held by Luo Shui. Jiang Chun realized that today's matter was going to get out of hand. Oh, you have a little lover so soon? At this moment, the woman raised her eyebrows with a faint smile on her face. When Jiang Chun heard this, his entire body trembled, and he said with a smile, "This is, cough cough, a friend of mine." Friend? Bullshit. Who doesn't know about your relationship with Luo Shui? Man Xiaoxiong glared and said, "It's really a fresh flower stuck in cow dung. A cabbage has been eaten by a pig." What did you say? Try saying it again? At this moment, the woman and Luo Shui both glared at each other, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. When Man Xiaoxiong saw this, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He thought to himself, what's wrong with my big sister? Sister Huayu? Man Xiaoxiong opened his mouth, but didn't dare to ask. At this moment, Jiang Chun came to his senses. As a master, how could he be afraid of his own disciple? One had to know that the woman standing in front of Man Xiaoxiong was Hualien. Disciple, I haven't seen you for a long time. I really miss you. Jiang Chun coughed a few times and said in all seriousness. However, Hualien didn't fall for this. One had to know that among Jiang Chun's female disciples, Hualien was the first one to sleep with Jiang Chun. According to the hierarchy of the harem, Hualien was the main wife. Tell me, should I call you master or husband? Grinding her teeth, Hualien stared at Jiang Chun. She said, aren't the three of us enough? You're still thinking of flirting outside? I'm a womanizer? Jiang Chun said snappily, which eye of yours saw it? After saying that, Jiang Chun's expression turned serious, and he said, how can you talk to your master like that? Is it because I haven't seen you for a while that you've grown up? Hearing this, Hualien realized that she was Jiang Chun's apprentice. However, Looking at Jiangchen and Luo Shui being so intimate, Hualiani didn't feel good. Your wings have hardened. What's wrong? Hualiani raised her eyebrows and released her aura. Her cultivation had reached the upper level of the immortal state. This made Jiangchen dumbfounded. What was wrong with this world? His disciples' cultivation far surpassed his master's. Was there any justice in this? I don't care what your relationship is. Jiangchen is under my protection, Luo Shui said coldly. Her cold gaze swept around and said, if anyone is not convinced, you can come and fight. After saying that, Luo Shui added, the two of us are going to cultivate here for 10 days. During these 10 days, I have the final say in Wangling Mountain. Who do you think you are? Hualiani's eyes narrowed. The two women faced each other, neither giving way to the other. Following Hualiani's words, Man Xiaoxiong and the other followers took a step forward and stood opposite Luo Shui. Seeing this, Jiangchen felt a headache and hurriedly said, we're all on the same side. She's my disciple. Jiangchen said to Luo Shui and then explained to Hualiani, I really have nothing to do with her. However, the two women seemed to have offended Jiangchen. They snorted coldly and didn't speak again. Neither did they pay attention to Jiangchen. Jiangchen was speechless. He looked at the people around him and blushed. He said awkwardly, this is a family matter. It's a family matter. Everyone please don't mind it. He's simply a beast. Someone rebuked angrily. He abandoned his disciple's wife and actually fooled around outside. Bah! He's worse than a beast. Man Xiaoxiong also sighed. It's really 2 flowers stuck in cow dung. Bang! Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Hualiani and Luo Shui both struck out with their palms and directly sent Man Xiaoxiong flying. Don't talk about him, Hualiani shouted angrily. Try saying another word about him, Luo Shui said coldly. Man Xiaoxiong's face was bitter. After standing up from afar, he muttered, I also want to be that pile of cow dung. To be honest, I also want to, many people muttered in their hearts. They could be said to be envious of Jiangchen. At this moment, Jiangchen's face was calm. Then, he casually found a place, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. As for Hualiani and Luo Shui, they could do whatever they wanted. However, before Jiangchen could cultivate for long, a series of exclamations came from the foot of the mountain. Then a young man in black walked up to the top of Spirit Gazing Mountain alone. Holy Sun Song Ming. He's really back? I heard that he's already in the 5th small world. I didn't expect him to turn back for Luoyang. At this moment, exclamations exploded. Some people followed him up, wanting to see what would happen next. My fiancé is here. Luo Shui walked to Jiangchen's side and poked Jiangchen's shoulder with her slender hand, saying, I protected you for so long. Shouldn't you show me some appreciation? What appreciation? Jiangchen said unhappily. He sat cross-legged on the ground and didn't even open his eyes. What kind of joke was this? Even Holy Sun Song Ming's subordinate, Qi Lan, had such a high cultivation. Holy Sun Song Ming's cultivation was probably even more terrifying. Jiangchen was only at the sage stage. How could he compete with Holy Sun Song Ming? Luoyang, come with me. After a dozen breaths, a tall and handsome young man in black walked up to the top of the mountain. When he looked at Luo Shui, his eyes flickered with a gentle light. However, deep in his eyes, there was a trace of disgust and killing intent. Obviously, he cared a lot about the green hat on his head. I'm already his woman, Luo Shui said with a faint smile. She pointed at Jiangchen, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, and said, He's now my man. F***CK? Are you playing with fire? If I'm killed by Holy Sun Song Ming, you'll take responsibility? Jiangchen roared in his heart. He had already checked Holy Sun Song Ming's cultivation. This guy was at the upper level of the immortal stage. There was already a wisp of immortal qi floating in his body. This was a sign that he was about to step into the immortal stage. Such a person was probably invincible in the bloody road at this time. Luoyang, we have a marriage contract. Even if you don't like me, you have to marry me, Holy Sun Songming said in a deep voice. This is a marriage contract between the Songming sect and the Luotian clan. Then you have to ask my man if he agrees to let me go with you. Luo Shui mocked and secretly kicked Jiang Chen's back. She gritted her teeth and said coldly, "Why aren't you getting up?" Chapter 493. Without waiting for Jiang Chen to get up, Hua Liani exploded. She stared at Luo Shui and said in a low voice, "Who is your man? You better make yourself clear." Am I not clear enough? Luo Shui had a provocative look on her face as she wrapped her arm around Jiang Chen's neck and said intimately, "Am I right?" Jiang Chen also panicked when he heard this. What kind of joke is this? I have nothing to do with you two. Now that you've done this, everyone thinks that we really have something to do with each other. I'm not going to take the blame for this. At this moment, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. It's time to turn things around. However, just as Jiang Chen got up, he saw a cold glint in Luo Shui's eyes. That you guys have the final say. Jiang Chen smiled and thought to himself, forget it. It's not rational to go against a peerless genius at the upper level of the immortal realm. Moreover, the other party was a woman. Jiang Chen followed the principle of men not fighting with women and silently sat back down. Seeing this, Hua Liani felt even more upset. Master, what do you mean? Do you really have something to do with her? Hua Liani's face was full of grievances as her eyes reddened and tears overflowed. Don't you love me anymore? Jiang Chen didn't want to say anything at the moment. What the hell? Can't you see that Saint Sun Songming is here? Instead of dealing with Saint Sun Songming, you want to deal with me first? I don't want to care about your matters, Saint Sun Songming said coldly. I only want her. Saint Sun Songming stepped forward and came to Luo Shui's side. He said in an extremely low voice, "Come with me, otherwise die." Clearly, Saint Sun Songming was really angry. He was the Saint Sun of the Songming sect. What kind of woman couldn't he find? And now, Luo Shui had cuckolded at him. If news of this were to spread, where would he put his face? Where would the Songming sect's face be? Die? Heh, do you have this ability? Luo Shui said in disdain. Luo Shui's strength was naturally very strong. There was no doubt about this. However, just as she finished speaking, her body suddenly trembled slightly. Following that, Luoyang's consciousness took control of his body. When Jiang Chen saw this situation, his heart could not help but sink. That was because Luoyang's strength was inferior to Luo Shui's. In that case, would Luo Yang be able to defeat Holy Sun Songming with his strength? What are you doing? Why are you so close to me? At this moment, Luo Yang had just woken up from his stupor. He stared at Saint Sun Song Yin, who was right in front of him, a trace of disgust flashing through his eyes. Come with me. Holy Sun Songming didn't seem to want to speak anymore. He stretched out a palm and pressed it on Luo Yang's shoulder. Who do you think you are? Luo Yang also had a violent temper. He flung Holy Sun Song Yan's hand away with a single palm strike. Following which, the power of the earth beneath his feet surged forth, causing numerous earth spikes to shoot into the skies. The earth spikes were like a torrential downpour, instantly engulfing Holy Sun Song Yin. Bang! However, with a loud explosion, the earth spikes that filled the skies shattered, and Holy Sun Song Ming appeared in front of everyone unscathed. Luo Yang, don't force me, Holy Sun Song Ming said in a low voice. I don't want to fight with you. Luo Yang was a descendant of Luotian's clan, and Luotian's clan was very powerful on the godless continent, comparable to the Songming sect. If the two of them really fought and there were casualties, then the two forces would definitely go to war. At that time, their vitality would be damaged. Force you? Do you have the right? Luo Yang was very arrogant. Streaks of earth-yellow power of the earth appeared around her, and a thick layer of earth armor appeared on her body. However, Luo Yang was not Luo Shui. As soon as she exerted her strength, Holy Sun Song Ming suppressed her with a single palm strike and sealed her cultivation. Following which, Holy Sun Song Ming grabbed Luo Yang's shoulder in front of everyone and said coldly, "Woman, it's time for you to teach her a lesson. I say, isn't it inappropriate to take her away just like that?" At this moment, Jiang Chen had no choice but to step forward. He stood up and stood in front of Holy Sun Song Ming. "Everyone knows that she's mine. If you take her away in front of me, where will I put my face? Aunt, I only want to take her away today. I don't want to kill you," Holy Sun Song Ming said coldly. Saint Sun Song Ming said coldly, "However, if you insist on doing so, I don't mind taking your lowly life that is no different from an ant." "Huh, lowly ant? Lowly and lowly?" Jiang Chen snorted, and a wisp of fire burned in his eyes. Yes, Holy Sun Song Ming was very strong. However, was Jiang Chen weak? Now that he had cultivated the incomplete heavenly manual for some time, Jiang Chen's battle strength was gradually recovering. Moreover, Jiang Chen had mastered so many secret techniques. If he really wanted to kill, Holy Sun Song Ming might not be his match. However, when that time came, Jiang Chen would have to pay a great price. "Who are you calling lowly and lowly?" However, before Jiang Chen could make a move, Hualiani shouted angrily. Man Xiaoxiong and the others behind her stepped forward and locked their gazes on Holy Sun Song Ming. Seeing this, Holy Sun Song Ming smiled disdainfully and said fearlessly, "So what if all of you come together? I, Song Ming, am not someone you can fight against. How dare you humiliate my master's husband? You've lived long enough," Hualiani said in a low voice. She waved her hand at Man Xiaoxiong and the others and said, "I'll deal with him. Sister Hua, this is not good, right?" Man Xiaoxiong frowned and said, "He's Holy Sun Song Ming. If we join forces, we can fight him. Holy Sun Song Ming? What is he?" Hualiani said disdainfully. As soon as she finished speaking, Hualiani formed a seal with her hands and pressed it against the void. Buzz! In an instant, the void cracked open, and 9 light doors appeared and opened. In the next moment, 9 terrifying auras erupted, and 9 battle spirits stepped out of the light doors. At a closer look, those were 9 upper, immortal realm, ancient battle spirits. "He's already so strong?" Jiang Chen thought to himself. He felt gratified. So it's spirit summoning. Holy Sun Song Ming frowned, also feeling troubled. However, he did not retreat. Instead, he did not wait for the battle spirits to attack and struck Jiang Chen with a thunderous palm. Jiang Chen was so focused on Hualiani that he did not expect Holy Sun Song Ming to suddenly attack. At this moment, Jiang Chen, who was caught off guard, was sent flying. His internal organs almost ruptured, and spiderweb-like cracks appeared on his body. Even his divine soul was flickering like a lamp, almost extinguished. "You're courting death." Hualiani was furious. With a roar, she waved her hand, and the 9 battle spirits rushed toward Holy Sun Song Ming. "So what if I'm spirit summoning? Do you know what my occupation is?" Holy Sun Song Ming said softly. With a wave of his hand, dark auras appeared around him. Then, a black light burst out like a black spear. When it burst out, the void collapsed, and even the light of the world was swallowed. "Dark sorcerer?" Jiang Chen exclaimed softly. He saw the bodies of the 9 battle spirits begin to rot, and one of them was pierced by the black spear and died on the spot. Chapter 494. Dark Sorcerer was also a type of arcane master, but much more terrifying than normal arcane masters. This class was proficient in all kinds of arcane skills. However, each arcane skill contained the dark attribute, which could devour and corrode everything. Moreover, Dark Sorcerer's mental strength was extremely terrifying. They could disturb others' minds and even control their thoughts. Most importantly, the Dark Sorcerer's power of darkness was a natural counter to all summoned creatures. For example, ghosts, war spirits, etc. Now, Hualiani, a war spirit, happened to encounter the Dark Sorcerer, Holy Sun Song Yin. She was naturally countered, I didn't want to fight. Holy Sun Song Yin spoke in a low voice. But now, it seems that you people should just disappear from this world. Boom! Boom! As he spoke, a black pool of water appeared. It was sticky and emitted a foul stench. The pool of water spread out and enveloped the other war spirits in a few breaths' time. In just a few breaths' time, the war spirits all died. At that moment, Hua Liani's expression became serious. A trace of panic appeared in her eyes. After all, she was a woman and had always been protected by Jiang Chun. Whenever something big or small happened, Jiang Chun would always be there to take care of it. Now, Hua Liani encountered such a situation for the first time. She naturally panicked. PSSH. At that moment, a black spear pierced through the air. Before Jiang Chun and Hua Liani could react, the spear pierced through Hua Liani's chest. A cluster of blood splattered out like cherry blossoms, bright with a trace of sadness. Liani? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. Previously, he was heavily injured by Holy Sun Song Yan's sneak attack. Now that he saw Hua Liani injured, he dragged his heavily injured body and flashed to her side. If I die, will you miss me? Hua Liani's life aura was very weak. Her face was pale as her vitality was being eroded by the power of darkness. At that moment, Jiang Chen's eyes were red, but he smiled and said, I won't miss you because you won't die. Then, Jiang Chen formed a seal with his hands and used nirvana to seal Hua Liani. Then, Jiang Chen slowly stood up with a kind smile on his face. You're really something. It had been a long time since Jiang Chen smiled like this. Anyone who knew what was going on would know that Jiang Chen was truly enraged at this moment. Holy Sun Deep Blue Sea could take Luo Shui away, but he could also heavily injure Jiang Chen with a sneak attack. However, he absolutely could not touch the people around Jiang Chen. That was Jiang Chen's reverse scale. Today, you will die as well. Holy Sun Songming said disdainfully, such a lowly ant. Normally, I wouldn't even be in the mood to attack him. Really? Ants? Jiang Chen's smile grew brighter and brighter, but there were rumbling sounds coming from within his body. In the next moment, before Saint Sun Song Yin could react, Jiang Chen rapidly formed a seal with his hands, and a Buddhist light shone down. All living beings are equal. With a roar, the Buddhist secret technique was unleashed. Instantly, Holy Sun Song Ming's expression changed. His cultivation was actually suppressed to the lower level of the divine realm. However, this was not a problem for Holy Sun Song Ming. So what if he was a lower-level divine realm cultivator? One had to know that Jiang Chun was only at the sage realm. With such a huge difference in cultivation and the fact that they were both geniuses, Holy Sun Song Ming did not think that Jiang Chun could pose a threat to him. With such a huge difference in cultivation, your all living beings are equal won't be able to suppress my cultivation much, Holy Sun Song Ming said disdainfully. It's enough. Jiang Chun narrowed his eyes and said softly, Do you know that I have mastered many cultivation techniques and martial techniques? But in reality, when I fight with others, I use a bunch of random martial techniques. So what? What's the point of telling me this? Holy Sun Song Ming said disdainfully. He was in no hurry to attack. He wanted to see what kind of tricks this ant in his eyes could play. Because I like to be direct. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. Cryptic patterns appeared on his body, as if they were totems. In the next moment, a terrifying blood qi rose from Jiang Chen's body and turned into a blood cloud that floated above his head. As for the patterns on his body, they were completely revealed. At a closer look, it looked like a true dragon tattoo, but at a closer look, it also looked like a qilin. However, after a few more looks, it looked like other living beings. It was as if the runes were formed by countless living beings. Although I'm proficient in all professions, in the end, my strongest point is still my physical body. Jiang Chun said softly, 3,000 years ago, I entered the martial path as a martial master. Due to a series of coincidences, I became proficient in all professions. However, my martial master profession is too powerful. Therefore, under normal circumstances, I'm not willing to use my martial master profession to bully others. At this point, Jiang Qin's eyes narrowed. He stared at Saint Sun Song Ming and said, "But today, I'm afraid I'll have to show you. What's the point of saying so much nonsense?" Saint Sun Song Ming said disdainfully, "In the end, you'll die at my hands." Heh! Jiang Qin snorted. Then, like a ghost, he charged forward. He didn't make any fancy movements, nor did he use any martial techniques. As he charged forward, his body seemed to have broken through some kind of limit and actually crossed the void. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Qin appeared in front of Saint Sun Song Ming. Under Saint Sun Song Ming's shocked gaze, a fist that looked like it was made of gold smashed into his face. Bang! With a muffled sound, Saint Sun Song Ming's face distorted. His nose and mouth exploded, and his face was covered in blood. Moreover, the force of this punch seemed to be extremely powerful. It shook Saint Sun Song Ming so much that all his bones were cracking. Impossible! Saint Sun Song Ming took a few steps back and cried out in shock. He couldn't believe that a martial master of the sage realm could actually hurt him. When a martial sage reaches the martial sage realm, they become martial sages, Jiang Qin said softly. "How's my martial sage cultivation?" "I was just careless," Saint Sun Song Ming said coldly. "It's just some flesh wounds." "Careless?" Jiang Qin raised his eyebrows. As soon as he finished speaking, his body moved horizontally, leaving behind afterimages in the air. This wasn't a doppelganger, but his speed was too fast. Saint Sun Song Ming focused his eyes. He could clearly see Jiang Qin's figure. "Insignificant skill," Saint Sun Song Ming shouted. Spears of darkness condensed around him and shot toward Jiang Qin. "Insignificant skill," Jiang Qin replied with the same words. At the same time, his fists danced. There was nothing fancy about it. However, with every punch, a golden rain of light would fall. His body looked like it was made of gold. After 3 consecutive punches, 6 spears of darkness were shattered. Then, Jiang Qin charged forward and arrived in front of Saint Sun Song Ming. He raised his arm and clenched his fist. A golden light exploded, and then his fist fell like a dazzling sun. This time, this punch still didn't use any martial techniques. "You want to defeat me with just the strength of your physical body?" Saint Sun Song Ming said disdainfully as he casually threw out a punch. Chapter 495. In Holy Sun Song Ming's eyes, he had been careless before. Now, his palm was enough to block Jiang Qin's punch. However, when the fist and palm collided, Holy Sun Song Ming's expression changed drastically. His palm twisted, and with a bang, it turned into a bloody mist. Even a layer of the power of darkness that enveloped his body was shaken off. "What's wrong with physical strength?" Jiang Qin raised his eyebrows. "Do you understand that brute force can break all techniques? That's a realm. You ain't. How is that possible?" Holy Sun Song Ming roared angrily. His palm instantly reformed, and at the same time, a dark technique erupted. A netherworld phoenix rushed out from the void. Wherever the netherworld phoenix passed, the netherworld fire burned everything. Even the void was ignited. The scorching heat carried a dark aura. Wherever the netherworld phoenix passed, it seemed to burn everything. However, Jiang Qin was unafraid. The undying bird Tao spirit rushed out from his body. With a long cry, the flames surged and directly turned the netherworld phoenix into dust. Immediately after, Jiang Qin rushed forward again. He arrived in front of Holy Sun Song Ming and punched again. This time, Holy Sun Song Ming was afraid and quickly retreated. However, Jiang Qin was extremely fast. Every time Holy Sun Song Ming retreated, he would take a few steps forward. A sage is actually chasing after Holy Sun Song Ming? Chasing after him? That's not appropriate. Exclamations filled the air. Some people even rubbed their eyes, doubting their eyes. As expected of the reincarnation of godly King Tianshun, someone exclaimed, but his eyes flashed with contempt. So what if godly King Tianshun was reincarnated? The difference in cultivation between Jiang Chun and Holy Sun Songming was too great. Although Saint Sun Songming had been injured, this was nothing to someone at his level of cultivation. It was just a flesh wound. "You have some skills," Holy Sun Songming said softly. Although he was injured, there was no trace of fear in his eyes. At this moment, Holy Sun Songming no longer retreated. He rushed forward, and when he raised his fist, it was like a black swamp was floating in his hand. Boom! The two fists collided, and the power of darkness erupted. The fist radiance grew even brighter, as if it wanted to swallow Jiang Chen's entire armhole. One, with a deafening roar, Jiang Chen's body erupted with a scarlet gold radiance. His fist transformed into a taotai that swallowed up all of Saint Sun Songming's power of darkness. "What in the world is this?" Holy Sun Songming exclaimed, a hint of fear finally appearing in his eyes. Myriad beast body. The markings on his body. Could it be? At this moment, cries of surprise rang out from all around. There were even people who revealed the secret of the lines on Jiang Chen's body. The runes that seemed like 10,000 spirits were actually a kind of secret technique. Using the power of 10,000 spirits to strengthen himself, he transformed into the body of 10,000 beasts. In this state, Jiang Chun could freely use part of the abilities of every living being. "A martial artist is the way of the king," Jiang Chun shouted. Flames erupted from his body, but it was a flickering red. The scorching heat caused cracks to appear in the void, and an obscure aura filled the air. Moreover, a blazing qilin appeared behind Jiang Chun. This was qilin fire. Qilins were auspicious beasts of heaven and earth. The flames on their bodies could burn all the filth in the world. Qi. In an instant, the qilin fire rushed out and ignited Saint Sun Songming. The power of darkness on his body was ignited, and he let out a few muffled groans. "Other than these little tricks, what else do you have?" Saint Sun Songming roared. As his pupils constricted, a terrifying wave of spiritual energy erupted. He wanted to control Jiang Chen's mind. However, Jiang Chen's spiritual energy was extremely powerful. With a single thought, a formless spiritual energy storm erupted. Boom! Boom! A few violent explosions rang out. Their spiritual energies collided invisibly, shaking the void to the point of shattering. What powerful spiritual energy! He's only at the sage stage, but his spiritual energy is so powerful. Everyone exclaimed as they saw Jiang Chun rush out again. This time, Jiang Chun burned his blood essence, and his entire body was enveloped by the power of heaven and earth. He threw out punch after punch, simple and unadorned, but it gave off a feeling of invincibility. Saint Sun Songming's heart palpitated as he used his dark arts one after another, turning the area around him into a dark zone. In the air, dark spears fell like a storm, and on the ground, black vines shot up into the sky. In his palms, two black balls of light spun like two dark dragon balls, heading straight for Jiang Chun. "This is nothing," Jiang Chun roared as he formed a seal with both hands, and a blinding holy light erupted. In an instant, everyone's vision turned white. They couldn't see anything at all. Pooh! When the white light disappeared, everyone heard a muffled groan. Then, they saw Saint Sun Songming's head separated from his body. He had been beheaded. What? This is impossible. At this moment, cries of surprise shook the sky. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. Even Saint Sun Songming himself couldn't believe it. What had happened under that white light? "Die!" Jiang Chun roared as he rushed forward. He formed a fist seal with both hands and punched Saint Sun Songming's head. However, Saint Sun Songming was too powerful. His head was separated from his body, but he didn't die. It could be seen that after his head was punched by Jiang Chun, it flew away quickly, before it was connected to his body. "Just now, what was that?" Saint Sun Songming said in a low voice, a hint of fear flashing through his eyes. Saint Sun Songming couldn't see anything in that white light. However, he could feel that an extremely terrifying force had struck him. It was that force that had beheaded him. "That's a force you can't reach," Jiang Chun said coldly. "Pooh." However, just as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because when that white light exploded, Jiang Chun had used the myriad transformations Heaven Slash. However, what Jiang Chun didn't expect was that Saint Sun Song Ming was so strong that he didn't die under the myriad transformations Heaven Slash. Now, the backlash of the myriad transformations Heaven Slash had erupted, and Jiang Chun was extremely weak. What made Jiang Chun the most helpless was that the effect of the Buddhist mystic technique, all lives equal, had disappeared. At this moment, Saint Sun Song Ming's cultivation had recovered to the upper level of the deity realm. He was only a step away from the deity realm. And die. Saint Sun Song Ming was truly enraged. He had been repeatedly injured by the ant in his eyes, and even his head had been chopped off. If he didn't kill Jiang Chun today, he would lose all face as Saint Sun Song Ming. "My life is in my hands," Jiang Chun roared. His hair danced wildly, and the blood essence in his body burned. The power of his divine physique erupted, and his entire person was like a primordial beast. Beside Jiang Chun, the phantoms of ferocious beasts appeared. There were true dragons, phoenixes, Luan's tout eyes. He was like the king of all beasts, and his body underwent shocking changes. Chapter 496. Body of all beasts. Pilgrimage of all beasts. At that moment, Jiang Chun roared as blood clouds rolled above his head. Violent chi and blood surged, and a layer of blood mist filled the surroundings. Dragon horns grew out of his forehead. His hands turned into eagle claws. His feet were like qilin hooves, and a phoenix tail appeared behind his back. His entire body was covered in pitch-black scales, and the image of a phoenix appeared on his face. When his eyes opened and closed, the flames of an undying phoenix burned. "This is too terrifying. What's going on with this blood chi? So powerful!" Everyone exclaimed as they saw that the clouds within thousands of miles were dyed red by Jiang Chen's blood chi. Even Saint Sun Song Yin was moved. He could feel that the ant in front of him had become extremely powerful. However, Saint Sun Song Yin was still fearless. He reached out his hand, and a dark spear appeared. It was covered in cryptic patterns that seemed to be able to swallow everything. With a raise of his hand, the spear shot out, piercing through the void and landing in front of Jiang Chun in the blink of an eye. Clang! However, with the sound of metal clashing, Jiang Chun raised his eagle claws and caught the dark spear effortlessly. Then, with a light shake of his eagle claws, the dark spear shattered and turned into nothingness. "Ever since I entered the bloody path, I knew that I could no longer keep a low profile," Jiang Chun said softly. "I just didn't expect this day to come so soon." "Heh, today is also the day of your death," Saint Sun Song Yin said coldly. He formed a seal with his hands, and his spirit power erupted. Then, a dark cloud condensed. The dark cloud was like a tribulation cloud, but it was filled with blood-red eyes. The dark cloud landed on top of Jiang Chen's head, and the power of darkness poured down. Destructive light beams shot out from the blood-red eyes. The void in this area was shattered, and the berserk dark energy was dancing chaotically. Even the ground under Jiang Chen's feet collapsed. A black abyss appeared under Jiang Chen's feet, and a huge suction force erupted, as if it wanted to swallow Jiang Chun. "Fuyao!" Jiang Chun shouted, and a pair of Kuan Peng wings appeared on his back. He flapped his wings, and like a real Kuan Peng, he soared 90,000 miles into the sky. His body seemed to be burning as he charged into the black clouds. The roar of a dragon shook the air. Then, the flames exploded and burned half the sky red. As the dark clouds dissipated, Jiang Chun stood in the air like a god. Then, Jiang Chun stomped his feet on the void below, and the qilin flames fell into the abyss. Boom! Following a series of explosions, the abyss collapsed, and the power of darkness dissipated. Dark imprisonment. Holy Sun Deep Blue shouted. He formed seals with his hands, and another spell technique erupted. This time, the black fog wrapped around Jiang Qin's body. There was also a sealing force that seemed to want to seal Jiang Qin's power. However, the Qilin flames on Jiang Qin's body surged, and a pure and holy radiance appeared on his dragon horns. The crimson and holy radiance intersected, burning the black fog into nothingness. In the next moment, Jiang Qin charged out like a falling meteor. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Holy Sun Deep Blue. "You! Damn you!" Jiang Qin shouted. Under Holy Sun Deep Blue's horrified gaze, his eagle claw fell and grabbed Holy Sun Deep Blue's neck. Then, the eagle claw exerted force and broke Holy Sun Deep Blue's neck. His head and body were separated again. This time, Jiang Qin did not give Holy Sun Deep Blue a chance. His phoenix tail swept out like a sharp sword, turning Holy Sun Deep Blue's body into dust. However, Holy Sun Deep Blue's head was pushed back 1,000 meters. Without waiting for Jiang Qin to charge out again, Holy Sun Deep Blue roared. The power of darkness rumbled like a furnace. In almost an instant, Holy Sun Deep Blue's body was reconstructed, and he appeared in front of Jiang Qin in perfect condition. "Aunt, you've angered me." Saint Sun Song Yin roared in anger. Being beheaded by a Saint Realm cultivator twice in a row was undoubtedly a great humiliation to him. On this day, even if he managed to kill Jiang Qin, Saint Sun Songming would still lose face. "I'll destroy your body and turn your soul into a green lamp. I'll make you suffer the pain of burning for 10,000 years. I'll make you wish you were dead." Holy Sun Deep Blue said coldly. "You are not worthy," Jiang Qin whispered. The Kuan-Pung wings on his back flapped, and his speed was extremely fast. It was as if he had crossed the void and appeared in front of Holy Sun Deep Blue once again. He raised his eagle claw like an indestructible sword. Under his claw, the void shattered. Separated by 100 meters, the eagle claw suddenly appeared on top of Holy Sun Deep Blue's head. Jiang Qin said disdainfully, "You're just a warlock. What else can you do after being closed in on?" However, before Jiang Qin's eagle claw could land, a muffled sound came from behind Jiang Qin. Following that, fresh blood spurted out from Jiang Qin's back. He staggered a few steps and almost fell. At the same time, the myriad beast body was shattered, and Jiang Qin returned to his original appearance. Mu Xingyun. At this moment, Jiang Qin's eyes were bloodshot, and his heart was filled with extreme hatred. This was because while he was fighting Holy Sun Deep Blue, Mu Xingyun had snuck up behind him and launched a sneak attack. And this sneak attack was undoubtedly fatal to Jiang Qin. The power in his body had been scattered, and even his soul had been severely injured. If not for his strong physical body, this sneak attack would have been enough to take Jiang Qin's life. After Mu Xingyun's sneak attack, he instantly disappeared, leaving behind only one sentence: "Your life is in your hands." I'm afraid it's not up to you. Mu Xingyun, I'll kill you sooner or later." Jiang Qin roared, but his heart sank to the bottom. The myriad beast body had been shattered, and he couldn't use it for a while. In this way, how could Jiang Qin compete with Holy Sun Deep Blue? "If my master dies, as his disciple, I'm afraid I'll lose a lot of face." However, right at that moment, a woman with a graceful figure and a seductive aura stepped through the air and arrived. Her appearance was peerless, and she was like a fairy who had fallen into the mortal world. She walked over with graceful steps, as if she were dancing. At the same time, an extremely terrifying power suddenly appeared in Jiang Qin's body. Jiang Qin stood up once again due to this power. He exerted the myriad beast's body, and even his aura soared to the great Saint Realm. "Master, you have to do your best." In the distance, the woman smiled charmingly. She gently touched her red lips with her finger, and blinked her charming eyes. "I'll dance for you." "Who is she?" "Her appearance isn't inferior to Luo Yang's." "She's a war dancer?" Exclamations were heard all around, and some people even revealed greedy looks for this woman. Jiang Chun didn't want to say much at this moment. After getting up, he clenched his right hand in the air and shouted, "Condense!" With the word condense, the power of heaven and earth burst forth like a tide. Then it condensed into a sharp sword in Jiang Chen's right hand. Chapter 497. With the dragon bone sword in hand and the blood-colored clouds under his feet, he soared into the sky like a great rock spreading its wings. In the blink of an eye, Jiangchen appeared in front of Saint Sun Song Yin. The dragon bone sword in his hand pierced down, shattering the void. The sword was extremely fast, like a flash of lightning. Saint Sun Song Yin reacted quickly and dodged to the side, but his shoulder was still cut. Fresh blood splattered. Saint Sun Song Yin's shoulder exploded, and cracks appeared on half of his body. War dancer? Saint Sun Song Yin's eyes narrowed, and a fierce glint flashed in his eyes. He reconstructed his body in an instant and charged toward the war dancer. "How dare you?" Jiangchen was furious. He used his concealment technique, and his figure was like a ghost. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the war dancer and said with a smile, "Disciple, you're so charming. Aren't you afraid of being targeted? With a master like you around, what do I have to be afraid of?" The war dancer said with a charming smile. And this person was Nayland Mayer. How many beauties does this guy have around him? Luo Shui, Hualyini, and now Nayland Mayer. The group of people around had ugly expressions. They felt like several cabbages had been eaten by the same pig. At this moment, Saint Sun Song Yin had already arrived. The power of darkness erupted, and his entire body was like a black hole. He formed a seal with his hands, and the void distorted as if it had turned into a swamp. Nayland Mayer's dancing body slowed down, and the power she was exerting on Jiang Chen's body also weakened significantly. Boom! The next moment, Saint Sun Song Ming attacked, and dozens of black spears shot out in succession and pierced Jiang Chen's body. However, Jiang Chen was still standing where he was. He didn't move at all. His body emitted divine light, and the dragon horns on his forehead emitted a layer of light rain. It was like a layer of Kasaya that covered Jiang Chen's body. Those dark spears landed on Jiang Chen, but they could not hurt him at all. "I'd like to see how well you can dance. I want to see how long you can last." Holy Sun Song Yan's heart was burning with rage. He was dealing with a saint stage cultivator, but he couldn't kill him even after so long. To him, this was simply a humiliation. "If you want to fight, I can beat you until you submit," Jiang Chun said coldly. He formed a seal with his hands, and layers of array formations formed, protecting Nayland Mayer. Then, Jiang Chun charged out and continued his battle with Saint Sun Song Yin. Jiang Chun had heavenly stars in his body, and his power was endless. His physical body was so strong that he did not need to use any moves at all. Holy Sun Deep Blue Sea was also very powerful. He constantly used dark magic techniques, as if he would never stop. Just like that, the two of them continued to fight fiercely. For a time, neither of them could do anything to the other. The people around him were shocked. They couldn't imagine how a cultivator at the saint stage could fight a prodigy at the upper level of the god stage until now. Even with War Dance's encouragement, ordinary people wouldn't be able to do this. He's really too strong. No wonder he could unify the godless continent 3,000 years ago. So he's really strong. He's very strong, but there are many people stronger than him in this lifetime. Some people exclaimed, while others scoffed. They thought that it was impossible for Jiang Chun to regain his glory in this lifetime. 12 hours later, Jiang Chun and Holy Sun Song Yin were still fighting fiercely. At this moment, both of them were injured. Holy Sun Song Yin had lost a lot of blood essence because his physical body was constantly being slashed by Jiangchun. Each time his physical body was slashed, he had to use blood essence to reforge it. Over time, Holy Sun Song Yan's face turned pale. He lacked blood essence and felt powerless. Even the speed at which he used spells slowed down significantly. At the same time, Jiangchun was also exhausted from the continuous fighting. Black bruises had appeared on his body. They were wounds left behind by the power of darkness. At the same time, Nayland Mayer's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Her face was pale, and the spirit energy in her body was almost exhausted. Jiangchun, you're about to die. Holy Sun Song Yin said coldly. Seeing that Nayland Mayer was about to run out of spirit energy, he couldn't help but become agitated. After fighting for so long, this battle was finally about to end. Jiangchun was also very helpless. He had already done his best to be able to reach this point. It was just a pity that Holy Sun Song Yin was too strong. Such a peerless genius whose cultivation was much higher than Jiangchun's was indeed not someone he could deal with. Looking at the situation now, if he waited until Nayland Mayer could no longer dance, then Jiangchun would undoubtedly die. However, Jiangchun did not panic at all, because after fighting for so long, a day had passed, and the sky was about to turn dark. After half an incense stick's time, when the last ray of sunlight disappeared from the horizon, a cold voice came from not far away. At this moment, Luo Shui took control of her body, and her entire body emitted a cold and arrogant aura. She took a step forward and stood beside Jiangchun. Looking at Holy Sun Song Yin in front of her, she raised her eyebrows and said, "If I kill you, the Luotian clan will declare war on the Song Yin sect." "It's good that you know." Holy Sun Song Yin said coldly, "You unfaithful slut. Heh, but you don't know that I don't mind the Luotian clan declaring war on the Song Yin sect." Luo Shui smiled contemptuously and said, "By the way, let me tell you that I'm someone you will never be able to obtain. What are you doing?" Holy Sun Song Yan's heart palpitated, but he saw that Luo Shui had already made her move. Like a fairy, she stood in the air, and the power of the heavens surged around her. When she raised her slender, snow-white hand, the power of all the major elements gathered. Wind, fire, and thunder, like a storm, covered this part of the world. "Do you want to completely fall out with me?" Holy Sun Song Yin roared. "Do you know the consequences of doing this?" "I know," Luo Shui said softly. "But my fate is in my own hands." "You!" Holy Sun Song Yin glared at her. But he was clear about his current state. If he fought with Luo Shui now, he would definitely die. Thinking of this, Holy Sun Song Yan's expression became extremely ugly. After glaring fiercely at Luo Shui and Jiangchun, he turned around and fled into the void. However, Luo Shui didn't want to let Holy Sun Song Yin go so easily. A bolt of lightning shot out and struck Holy Sun Song Yin in the void. However, Holy Sun Song Yin was still very powerful. After letting out a scream, he still managed to escape. "Now, you should tell me what's going on between you and her, right? Since everyone is here, it's time to make things clear." At this moment, Hualiani and Nayland Mayer both looked at Jiangchun. Both of them had faint smiles on their faces, causing Jiangchun to tremble all over. When facing Holy Sun Song Yin, Jiangchun wasn't afraid at all. However, when facing his two disciples, Jiangchun didn't know why, but he felt a little guilty. Chapter 498. Every family had their own problems. Others might not know, but Jiangchun was very clear in his heart. His disciples did not cultivate all day long and only thought about sleeping with him. "I am the dignified divine King Tianqin. How could I teach such a few disciples?" At this moment, Jiangchun felt that he should take in a few male disciples in the future. "There's nothing between me and him," Luo Shui said softly. "It's just a shield." When these words came out, Jiangchun could not help but laugh. He secretly thought that Luo Shui was finally reliable at the critical moment. However, when Luo Shui said these words, Hua Yini and Nayland Mayer were unhappy. What the hell? My master is so outstanding and so handsome, but you only use him as a shield? No, this could not be tolerated. You don't have any other thoughts about my master? Hua Yini asked tentatively. That's right, my master is so handsome, so handsome. How many men in the world can compare to him? You don't have any thoughts at all? Nayland Mayer said. When Luo Shui heard this, she frowned. After thinking for a moment, she muttered, I still have some thoughts. You still say that it's a shield? Liar. At this moment, the two women exploded. They secretly thought that they had another opponent. Luo Shui was dumbfounded. The two of you, what do you mean? I don't have any thoughts about your master, but you're uncomfortable in your hearts. Now that I have some thoughts, you're unhappy? This? Can't you speak properly? All right, listen to your master. Jiang Chen's expression turned serious. It was time to stand up and speak. Otherwise, as a master, he would lose too much face. However, when he saw Hua Yini's cultivation, Jiang Chen's face could not help but darken. He secretly thought that he had lost a lot of face. After that, when Jiang Chen saw Nayland Mayer's cultivation, Jiang Chen even had the heart to die. Among his disciples, only Nayland Mayer did not like to cultivate. But now, her cultivation base had actually reached the upper level of a great sage. My cultivation level is the lowest? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. He thought to himself that he had been practicing fast enough. Why is it that the cultivation of the people around me is so high? Master, I will protect you from now on. Hua Yini moved closer to Jiang Chen, shook his cuffs, and said shyly, Don't be afraid. Master, I can protect you too. Nayland Mayer was not to be outdone. She shook Jiang Chen's other cuff. Her face was slightly red as she whispered, When did we... That Jiang Chen felt a headache coming on. They were on a bloody road. Could the two of them be more serious? Luo Shui saw all of this and could not help but spit out and said, There's not a single decent person in this family. Sister Hua, although Holy Sun Deep Blue has left, he will definitely return. At this moment, Man Xiaoxiong had a worried expression and said, This time he came alone. Who knows how many people will come next time? Moreover, with Holy Sun Deep Blue's strength, the strength of his friends should be about the same as him. What are you afraid of? Just because he has more people? Hua Yini was unconvinced and said, If he was not a dark sorcerer and naturally restrained me, would he need my master to act? With my 9 battle spirits, I can suppress him. That's right, my master is very powerful. Nayland Mayer smiled charmingly. Her slender jade-like hands hung around Jiang Chen's neck. She blinked her beautiful eyes and bashfully and softly whispered into Jiang Chen's ear, Master, I'm tired. Both of you cultivate. Jiang Chen exploded and glared at Nayland Mayer. Then he found a place and began to cultivate. When the two women saw that Jiang Chen was cultivating, they also felt bored and sat cross-legged beside Jiang Chen to cultivate. At the same time, the small world was in an uproar. This was because many people had witnessed the fight between Jiang Chen and Saint Sun Songming. With the strength of a saint, he had defeated Holy Sun Deep Blue, a peerless genius who was about to step into the heaven realm. Moreover, he had remained undefeated. This battle record was too glorious. If there's a chance, kill him in the cradle. We can't give him the chance to rise. If he has such combat strength as a saint, if he steps into the immortal realm, what will we do? Everyone in the same generation will be suppressed by him. Get ready. From today onwards, keep an eye on him. At this moment, the upper echelons of the various factions and alliances gathered together and finally came to the same conclusion. They wanted to kill Jiang Chen in the cradle because they were afraid. They were afraid that after Jiang Chen's cultivation increased, he would be able to suppress everyone in the same generation. By then, not only would people of the same generation be unable to contend against Jiang Chen, but even people of the older generation wouldn't be able to suppress Jiang Chen. Deep Blue, I heard you returned with a broken sword. At the same time, in a corner of the small world, Holy Sun Deep Blue was recuperating. In front of him, there was a man with two horns on his head. He had a puzzled look on his face. "There are too many of them," Holy Sun Deep Blue explained. "Wait until my injuries are healed. Come with me." "That's good too. We can see how strong that reincarnated Tian Chin is," the young man said softly. At this moment, if there were outsiders present and saw this young man with two horns on his head, they would definitely exclaim. This was because this person was the son of the Beast King, Jin Xuanhao, a golden blood tiger. Before he entered the bloody path, Jin Xuanhao's name had already spread throughout the world. It was said that among his peers, his strength was enough to rank in the top 50. There were so many prodigies in the world, and it was easy to imagine how strong those who could rank in the top 50 were. And now, Jin Xuanhao was obviously with Holy Sun Deep Blue. If these two peerless prodigies were to join forces, Jiang Chen and the others would probably not be able to stop them. Fortunately, Holy Sun Deep Blue's injuries had yet to fully recover, so Jiang Chen could still rest for a while. "Master, I heard." 10 days later, Jiang Chen and the others were more or less done with their cultivation and were preparing to enter the small world. At this moment, Nayland Mayer frowned and said, "I heard that something happened to Wakako." During these 10 days, Jiang Chen had been cultivating. His cultivation had reached the upper level of the sage stage and was about to break through. Therefore, he did not pay much attention to what was happening outside. Now that he heard Nayland Mayer say this, Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed and he asked in a low voice, "What happened?" "He was being hunted down and fell into the divine pit," Nayland Mayer said. "Divine pit?" Jiang Chen immediately stood up, his eyes flashing. He clenched his fists and was extremely worried. The celestial pit was an ancient ruin in the fourth small world. It was known as one of the 10 most dangerous places on the bloody path. No one who went in had ever come out alive. Entering the divine pit was equivalent to death. Even Jiang Chen didn't have the nerve to set foot there. Now that he heard that Wakako was being hunted down and fell into the divine pit, Jiang Chen's first thought was to avenge Wakako. That was because falling into the divine pit was basically equivalent to death. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.